for ones, man. There's nothing better than asking chat for ones.
Okay, I raised you to 180%. You're initially at 100. Let's see how that works.
180%?
Yeah.
You know I'm a loud person, right, Tafo? Give me 179.
179.
Yeah.
All right. I think the levels are fine.
Probably.
You know,
Golden.
Actually, screw it. We're doing a commentator first. All right, I'm tweeting this out.
I'll retweet it. Tell me when you have it.
All right, I forgot to tag you in it.
That's cool. You know, I'm chopped liver nowadays. CLG manager, you know, just chopped liver.
All right, I reposted.
Yeah, that's right. Goddamn right. Chopped liver over here, dude. What is this?
Yeah, I actually just moved. I bought a house.
Change from. Are you still on Tetris 99 or am I just not refreshed?
I'm changing that right now.
Yeah, just you know, streamer stuff.
Yeah.
You're in a new house?
Yeah.
Since when? When did that happen?
About a month. I moved in a month ago.
Streamer stuff. How was moving during COVID?
Not bad. It actually went really well.
Yeah.
How do the Twitch just constantly changes their UI that I'm lost.
And extraordinarily poor ways. You know, you have to click your username, like your user icon, to get to like VODs.
Yeah.
Right now. Can you believe that?
It was definitely very unintuitive.
It's so insane. I've never seen anything like it.
It's really weird. Dude, I don't even remember the last time we did one of these.
Ages ago. Honestly, like there's pre-corona and there's post-corona. It's kind of like you know, the start of like any like Fallout game. We basically did it in a whole different lifetime.
It almost feels that way. You know, it's really sad. Like I remember pre-COVID where we were trying to hang out, and then like I ended up with like a fat headache, and then I like couldn't make it out, and then we found out the next day.
Yeah, that everything was like shutting down, and like it was like it all broke. I think the NBA got canceled that day, but which on a very separate topic, the NBA coming to come back, that is not going to work. I think that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And it's gonna fall right in its face.
Yeah, it's a whole different world. Like, I'm just like trying to think. Like, like, do you get this like duality of, wow, that was 3 months ago. It feels so short, but also so long.
Has it really only been 3 months? Because it feels like longer. Is it really? Are you serious? It's been 3 months. So like. I like in my head and like the way I like am mental modeling this, I like almost am expecting COVID to at least last a year. But when you tell me it's been 3 months and that feels like a year, I'm like, well, maybe I should shift my mental model to 4 years, and then when it's actually a year, you know, it'll fit what like the experience is like. And I'm not someone who's struggling because I have a lot of video games and stuff, and you know, I'm fine with it, but it feels like it makes time go slow. That's all.
Yeah. I think definitely like I'm in league season now. Like I don't know what it is for you, like, but I felt like at one point every day felt the same, and I didn't know what day of the week it was, like when I was in off season.
Well, I also my sleep schedule lately has been well, I go to sleep at like 6 a.m. and wake up at 2 p.m. So so I don't even know what time it is, Tafo. If you told me right now that it's like the morning, I'd be like, yeah, sure, why not?
Well,
I don't look outside. I don't look outside.
Well, I mean,
my blinds are closed.
I mean, this is why I literally thought like it's 10 p.m. Like normally we start Commentator's Curse in like 7:30, and like I'm like Blur's probably down. And now you're like a Slay the Spire streamer.
Dude, Dude, I'm the goat. I have the record.
You have the record. Like number of completions in a successful completions in a row, right?
Yeah, rotating characters. I'm trying. There's like single character like ones that are like popping up and people challenges that I'm like now I'm going for that. But yeah, like it's pretty fun. I don't know. Like streaming is actually way more fun than I thought it would be. Like at first I just did it to like pass the time because I didn't want to get a job and like then COVID happened and I was like, well now I'm definitely not gonna try to get a job. Like and so but now I'm like, hey, I actually like this thing. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. Are you? Do you have any regrets from going away from kind of like Twitch and like I don't know, quote unquote,
Oh
a
no,
normal?
no, no, no! I needed to do that. That's the one of the better decisions I made. I haven't made a major life decision that's been bad so far, thankfully.
Nice. Well, I mean,
Um,
I don't even know like where to start. I mean, like it's been such a long time. You mentioned it's a different lifetime. COVID happened. It just like in Smash Bros. Like if we just like name everything that happened, right? Tournaments got canceled. Evo's now canceled. Evo Online's canceled.
a lot of things getting canceled. Let me tell you what.
Slippi happened. Like it feels like I don't know, just like I don't know where to begin. So like I'm leaning on you to go like what do we begin to like talk about here? Like
I don't know. I don't know. I think there's just there is so much, but also so little because there haven't actually been events. Um, like there's so much conversation going around about the community, and I'm like, what community? We're just a bunch of dudes in our houses, like dudes and dudettes and so on, in our houses. Like, we're not seeing each other or anything like that, and we won't for a while, right? And so it feels very disconnected from reality, and I also like there's like major question marks about like what happens when things get back, where the scene will be, like will there be a scene, will people still go to tournaments,
yeah.
should they go to tournaments,
Okay.
and so on.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's like three good reasons like now that like people would be less hesitant or more hesitant to like not go to like let's say even a local, right? Slippy's out. Slippy is a phenomenal experience. Like it's greatly better than Faster Melee and like everything, right? So that's reason one. I'm not putting it in.
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it, Tafo. I wouldn't have said this about NetPlay before. It's better than a local. Almost every local I've been to is worse than a night playing Slippy.
Yeah.
Like just like I'd say like 90+%. I'd say if most locals were what they should be, that wouldn't be true. But in the current state of things, it's literally like I'm saying that as someone who's gone to literally hundreds, like I don't even know how many locals, right? In my lifetime, like it's me playing Slippy at like in the comfort of my home. Yes, I don't have the CRT experience, but it's like it's good enough, man, for me
Yeah.
right now. And that is not to say I don't think locals are worthwhile or things we should be doing. It's just that people actually have to like run good events finally. So maybe that's for the better.
Yeah, I think the other part of it, like, I think it's like a reunion for a lot of players. Like, I think Mango, when he first played, his first opponent was Silent Wolf, like a guy that we haven't seen come to tournaments for a really long time. So I think that's like really cool. Like we see the people like Siren and stuff coming back. So it's like really cool to like it's like I can play right now. Like I run into Siren in ladder. It's like, oh shoot, like I think it's like really cool.
Yeah, no, I think that if you are someone who doesn't have interest in competing, like I know, like let's say someone like Siren, like that guy loves the game, but he doesn't actually care about like the idea of competition or tournaments, and that's like a fine and healthy opinion to have. And if you're someone like that, this is a great outlet. And if you just want to play the game, if like what you like most about Smash and Melee is simply playing the game without any of the other stuff, then it's awesome. Now I like the social aspect of Smash and everything that comes with it. So it's not something that I necessarily want to like lose or whatever. But I also think that I have no idea what the effects of everything that's been going on will have on overall attendance, viewership, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like You know, if we're gonna talk about stocks, a lot of people are asking you to move your mic so that they can see your pretty face.
Is that why they want to see it? I thought it was some audio thing.
No,
I
I
would
mean they
just
can hear you loud and clear. They just want to see you, man. Um,
I could just stand up.
you know, like when like Slippi came out, I feel like stocks for like went at an all-time high. Like there's so much like positive momentum of like, oh, Slippi's coming out. You know, documentaries around the corner. Like we're in for like a new like influx, right? Events are gonna go up. And then, well, amidst, you know, we also have COVID, which, you know, I've kind of forgot about. But it's a real thing. I feel like it's been so normalized that I'm just like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. But then there's also, you know, all the things that come out, right? And I think prior to you coming, I saw you in chat. It's like back in like 2013, 2012, right? Like episode 9 of the documentary. It's like, yeah, this is like the community. Like this is what we build. Like episode 9 just shows you how special the community is. And I think part of that goes like, yeah, like I want to be a part of this, right? You watch episode 9, you see how like wholesome and, you know, beautiful it looks. And then now we're here in 2020, and like I don't know if I can have like the same endorsement. Like I can't go to like a random high school friend, or like I can't go to a friend's little brother that knows Smash and they like talk to me. It's like, oh, like you're Taffa. I'm like, and then I can't in good faith go like, yeah, you should go to this tournament. You should go to Genesis. You should go to Big House. Like, and I think that's like one of the big things that like I'm having to reconcile, and I think that's like also something like you want to solve, right? As like one of the biggest like TOs and event organizers. So I don't know like what your thoughts are.
So I don't know. Like I think well, first of all, I agree with you. I actually at this current point in time, I wouldn't recommend someone to join the community. Like almost full stop. Because I think that the fragmentation and a lack of community leadership all around, um, like I think it creates an environment where there's no accountability, and then there's very few systematic ways for um someone to feel safe, right? And so like thankfully somehow by like through clawing and fighting, our code of conduct still exists. It's kind of, I got to be honest, it's kind of shocking that it still exists, and I say that only because so many people have like tried to bring it down, you know, over
I mean,
time.
I guess like what tilts me about that, like it's strong with me. Like I think you and I like talked to, you know, Kyle about it. It's like people are expecting a volunteer to put in the hours, to be a perfect judge, to be able to give you instantaneous decisions while doing this voluntarily. And then you have people on the side that like as soon as like something happens, like they're like tear it down, and like the people who are asking to tear it down like also don't have a solution to this. They just think that magically like 100 other smashers are going to come and figure it out, when that's like not the reality. And I think that's like the tilting thing about it.
Yeah, like so that's usually one of the many reasons. Like some of the things you described are some of the many reasons most community initiatives die without much time. Right? Is either they're not financially sustainable, like you mentioned with the volunteering, or the stress and scrutiny of the community brings it down from the inside. Right? Like the people just don't want to do it after a while. So it's I think it's miraculous and a testament to the people working on it that it still exists. And at a time like this, where I'm pretty happy it does. So, um, you know, you gotta hope that uh, it'll get better. I think what you know everyone's quoting from left is like, "Hey, this is a good thing. We can move on from this." I agree, and this is like overall a good thing, but it's only if and only if people take it seriously,
Yeah.
right?
I
Like
mean,
it is not a good thing if like and I see this same sentiment posted. I think there's something I quote retweeted recently. If people just think, okay, well they'll get banned, let's move on. You know, I'm gonna run my tournaments the same way. I'm gonna behave the same way when I'm at events. Like it's not me, or like I'm going to in my social circles be the exact same I've always been. If that's the case, like it's a terrible cycle.
yeah. I mean, because I mean, we didn't really resolve anything. I think some discussions, I think Party mentioned like on one end, like there, I think the CFC is overworked, and especially now with like a million cases coming in. Like each case, if you want to do its due diligence, you need like anywhere from 3 to 5 panelists. There's a lot of interviews. Like I think realistically, when you look at the 3 to 5 people, they probably spend like 15 to 40 hours like talking about it, interviewing people, right? And so backlog. So I think local codes of conduct are actually like a really good thing, and I'm glad that like New York came out with one.
I think those are great ideas, especially if their statutes are in line with the global code of conduct. The reason I say that is because, um, first of all, don't reinvent the wheel. There, people are working on something. Like I hate when there is a lack of uniformity. And it's very common in Smash, right? It confuses the attendees in terms of what is appropriate and what's not, right? Like you have to have some level of uniformity. So as long as people do that, and I'm already like in my brain as my cynical self, having worked in Smash for 15 years, already my red flags are rising. I'm like, Blur, they might not do that, right? Like we
Yeah.
might see people in those local code of conduct committees letting people off because they're their homie, right? Like I'm already going like, but what if, right? That's kind of where the back of my head's going. But if it's done right and it's done with the correct standards, and if it's done with deference to the global code of conduct and a general understanding of the culture that we want to build, then yeah, sure, it's a very big if. And like that and beyond that, like not just so there's two aspects of it, right? There's a preventative half of it, and then there is the reactionary. The reactionary stuff is like code of conducts and rehabilitation and you know,
We're banning this
uh,
guy. Like,
banning, yeah,
yeah,
like punishment, rehabilitation, and like anything reactive, right? Like something happened, let's respond, right? And then there's like all the stuff before that, and I've seen like a shocking lack of discussion about that half of it. Like for me, and I was telling this to everybody, I really don't care who like dude, I slay aspires all day. So like there's so many people who I've talked to who have had similar thoughts, but I see so little of this on social within the esports industry and the communities. How the hell did Mr. Wizard get away with all this shit for so long? Right? Like as an example, right?
I mean,
And
like,
and
yeah,
and
I
that's
mean,
kind of what I mean, right? Like where you had a bad actor that literally everyone thought was a bad actor for a very long time, right? And it takes a blow up for it to happen. Like where's the introspection and where is the understanding that like this can't be a cycle, this can't be something that exists, and like if people in power still like enabled that, like we have to actually look into it. And I have a lot of respect for the Evo staff. Like Seglia is like literally one of the greatest humans ever. You
and
know,
I
like
like the
as
Cannon brothers.
so cannons are they're great people, right? But legitimately, like these are I'm not trying to say and point fingers that they were complicit or anything like that. I'm just saying that I want to see that level of scrutiny being done here, and I also want to see people discussing in good faith what better preventative measures could happen,
Yeah,
right? Like and what and committing to it and committing to it. I want people to say when we open up back up, we're going to implement these new policies, like period,
yeah. I
right?
think, I mean, like, how did he get away with it, right? Like, you remember the Evo 2013 where you brought the CRTs, right? Like, in any
Yeah.
other business standpoint, right? Like, I'd be like, fuck this guy, right? But like, we're kind of stuck because it's like we're held hostage to a guy that is just an asshole. Like, I'm not in any way, shape, or form equating like our experience with like people who were legitimately violated, but working with him from a business standpoint, it's like, wow, this guy's a fucking asshole. Like, but we're stuck with him because it's Evo.
But it's important because here's what I'm trying to say, right? The Evo staff and leadership put like worked with him, put up with him when this guy was like a flagrant. Like, look at his Twitter right now. This guy is like, I'm not talking about like small levels of asshole. Like, this is one of the worst people I've ever met. Like, like
I thought I was reading Donald Trump's cousin, like when I was reading like the.
it's like it was mind-boggling. Like it was just like I can't believe what's going on here, right? Levels of scumbag, and I don't say these things lightly because I truly think it's not good to like even people who have been accused. I don't think it's good to pile it on. I really want to make sure that um,
I
we
mean,
stay professional with it.
uh,
Like, look, I don't want anyone to do any self harm, any of that. I don't say the only reason I say it is to give the chat context that there was not a single human who had an interaction with that guy who thought he was a good person, right? And so my question is like the staff around that, right? Like, and the people around that enabled that and was like okay with working with him when literally no one else was, right? The other leaders and co-founders, like how? Like, I don't get it. Like, it always blew my mind.
It's yeah, I mean the way I heard it, like people said he's a shrewd businessman, he gets the best deals, and like I think they kind of just like look the other way. And like I think like for us, right? It's like again, I'm not equating, actual victims to us as a community like in terms of dealing with him. It's like he can like make the worst rulings possible, the worst rule sets, like make the worst run tournaments, and we're stuck having to bend over like in many situations in the past because it's Evo, right? And like I think part
But
of it,
not everyone had to bend over, man. Like, the co-owners, they didn't have to bend over. Like the if you're head of production, you don't have to like if you're like one of the top commentators, you don't even have to bend over. What if you just say, I'm not going to work with this guy as long as this guy's working there? Like, I know that this stuff that's coming out now is the worst of it, but also this sort of stuff is actually, his allegations in particular have been around for like a very long time. Like, Watson was basically screaming off the rooftop. If you guys, your Smash people don't know, that's a guy who was the owner of Super Arcade. Like, this stuff is not really that new. It's a very open secret, right? Like, and so I'm singling out this one case for a reason, right? Is to show how much complicity there was overall, and how much people cover for each other, and how little accountability we've had so far, and just how bad of a job like gaming, and actually especially Smash, right, has done. Like,
yeah,
we've just done a horrible job, and I'm taking full. I said it in my last stream, or whatever. Full accountability. Like, I never thought about enough, and not enough measures were taken. But I'm hoping this wake up call actually serves a function.
I think when I think about it and all this, right, like Penn State, Jerry Sandusky, right, the kid incident happened, right, and you're wondering like to yourselves like how the hell did this ever happen? And look at it happen in our own community. And I think what it's made me realize, and how it's humbled me is like, dude, shit, like people are people, and this can literally happen anywhere. And like I think it was naive of me to think that it wasn't happening. It wasn't just one person. Like Penn State was just like, well, in theory, just one person with Jerry Sandusky. We have numerous people, and
Yeah.
it's real. And I think at the end of the day, like we all get together. I think the worst part we can go and just say screw it all. We're not going to be a part of the community and distance ourselves. Like these people are going to enter other communities, right? If it's not Smash, they're going to enter another game. The problem's still going to exist. And I think for me, like I want to be a part of like how can I help make this better? And so like I don't know if you've been doing anything, if you've been like chatting with like the power players within Smash, like what have you been like doing?
I have been, but like I think chatting and talking internally, I, like, dude, it's not that I'm jaded, Tafo. It's that I'm practical at this point. I got better things to do. I got spires to slay. Like, I'm at a point where it's like, look, I'm gonna put what I'm trying to do is what I've been doing most of today is making a document of my list of suggestions for TO to do when things open back up. Like, hey, here is a list of things that I think are good ideas, right? And putting them out there in like a very good way, making people look over it. I want to put a hand in it, and also like, hey, if you're a player, here's some changes you can make, etc. Right? And like the code of conduct did, why was the code of conduct even a 1% effective? It'd be like, hey, if you are going to open up, at least commit to some of these things in this list, right? Maybe not all of them, but be like, hey, I'm going to start age gating my tournaments, or I'm going to start like, I know it sounds silly, but enforcing what is a public rule of like no alcohol in the venue, right? Like no one actually enforces that right now, right? Or et cetera, like whatever is on the fucking list. Because like unless it's public and unless people are like publicly accountable, literally nothing gets done in Smash. Like, it's actually insane. And so that's the only way I know. Like the private discussions, Taff, have you ever had any luck? It's just a bunch of us wheeling around. Like, I got things to do.
Yeah. I mean, like for me, like like I have my like League of Legends stuff, so like I frankly don't have much time, but like I'm trying to do what I can. I'm trying not to like take it hopeless, and it's just been kind of rough. But maybe it takes something like this, right, to that more people are going to be taking action on it. I know we've tried in the past. I see people in the past like saying like, you dude, I've been trying for the longest time.
Yeah. So, but I do think that like public callouts work. Like if attendees go, hey, I noticed you don't in your registration include an emergency contact, right? As part of like one of the things that you ask for, which I think people should start doing as an example, right? Um, you should do that. That is stuff that can like literally publicly call them out because I don't know any other way. Like that's usually what works. So like stuff like that, like get TOs to commit to making some level of changes. But honestly, 80% of the problem is cultural, right? Like I think we can make some list of systematic changes, but really the biggest problems happen behind closed doors, in hotel rooms, in private parties, in private engagements. Like Keitaro's thing wasn't even at a tournament, right? As an example, it was at his house, the place he was living, right? So what does that say? It's like we need on a social level for people who are witness to these things to actually be able to understand their role and duty to speak up. Like I was on Plup stream, I think it was today, and he was asking like, hey, like, uh, in cases where it's a minor, like, am I obligated to speak up? And I think these are like good questions. He's like asking a good question, and the answer to that, by the way, is yes, right? Like in general, if it's a minor, it's the adult's obligation to speak up, and if it's older, respect the victim's wishes and let them do it at their own pace, right? But for minors, absolutely not. And I think like you see like the tweet cases or whatever, like people just don't know where the boundaries are. They don't know their obligations, and that cultural change is only going to happen if we like pummel into people's heads. Kind of like we started telling people that you can't say the hard R's anymore, right? And it worked. So I'm hoping that part can be done.
Yeah, I think the large part of that like kind of makes it tough for me. Like that like I would go to like at the after party. I would get one drink. I would make my rounds, say hi to the people I haven't seen like the whole weekend, and then I would leave. I'd end up most nights end up with you, Rob, Nintendo. We'd go out to eat somewhere. We might go to the event venue, and then we'd play friendlies the whole night, right? And so I think the hard part for me is like for me, like, and then like you have like the KGHs and Leffins, they play Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Like the party scene isn't what I'm really about when I go to these tournaments. Like, and I think the troubling thing for me, the more I think about it, is like how many people go to these events now thinking that like they're gonna hook up or get laid, and like not, it's like more about that than like it's a hobby. Like you go to Ultimate Frisbee, right? The primary focus is you're gonna play Ultimate Frisbee with people, have a good wholesome time, and like how much of it is that versus like bar hookup culture. And that's like the one thing like I kind of wonder if like our priorities are like backwards, like where people are like coming with the expectation that they're gonna hook up with somebody, get laid, and whether it takes alcohol to like get to that point. And that's like kind of what I wonder about, right? Like how did it transform to that?
Yeah, for sure. I think absolutely like that is the goal of some people going into those weekends, like 100%. And the thing is like we knew that, right? Like they would basically tell us, right? It wasn't like a secret. Like in Keitaro's case, he was like IRL streaming him running around in Mexico, looking to hook up. Like this is something that not only was like it was so public, it was so known and so accepted that it was just like out there. Like it's very clear what they were in this for, right? Like what some of their interests are. And there is nothing wrong with being sexually open, promiscuous, whatever, right? But what I will say is that I was at least at some times, honestly, sometimes I still am, in a position to like, let's say, hire people or give people, platforms, or give them opportunities within the community, whatever the case may be, right? And so knowing that, I've always felt uncomfortable about starting a relationship or doing anything with someone in the Smash community, right? And I've never actually pursued or done that to any capacity, right? And so I think like that level of understanding of like, hey, like who you are and who they are, like a lot of people just aren't seeing it. Like I legitimately think because there is a culture of like we don't know, even most people don't know each other's ages, right? We don't ask like how old they are. Like when you plug into a setup, you're all equal, right? Like the simple understanding that if you're 30 years old and they're 16, you're not equal. Like, and I don't mean equal in the sense that like all human lives are equal. Your human life is equal, but you're not in the same place in life, right? And you shouldn't treat like you having a social engagement with them any different than you would in like real life, because I really don't think a lot of these people would hang out with like a 14-year-old in real life. And so like think about that. Doesn't mean don't be nice to them, doesn't mean don't be welcoming to them, doesn't mean anything, but like some things I read I'm just like, wow. So some 14-year-old wanted to go to a tournament, so you decided that like, hey, let's share a room, and you bunked up with like 3 other people. Like, look, I get it, you're trying to help them go to the tournament, but like play that out in your head, right? In real life, when you're going to fly anywhere, would you bunk up with a 14-year-old? Like, does that just like play it out? It's a minor, right? Like play it out in your head and be like, maybe if they can't go unless they have you in the hotel vouching for them for the hotel, then they shouldn't go. They need their parent there or something, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like very basic stuff, but I think because of normalization, people don't understand that, yeah, you know, it might be the homie thing to do to room with someone who's really underage, but just don't do it.
I
Just
think
don't do it and let them find their own way.
I think the flip side of this is right is like, what are we like actually advertising, right? Like if we told like a 16-year-old like come to this event, it's gonna be great, but like we think about like what we do at the event, right? There's after parties, there's drugs, there's drinking, people are looking to like hook up, right? Like hookup culture, right? Like it exists, like, and there are people who who swipe on Tinder and apps, or they go to the bar, right? That's pretty appropriate for consenting adults that can drink. It just kind of makes less and less sense that we would advertise like come to this great event and also have this be like one of the highlights of the event. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And look, I think like there if people out there think that whatever measures are taken, if any are taken, I'm still very skeptical. But if people actually take it seriously and they think, oh man, like this is like a large part of my enjoyment when going to an event, blah blah blah, and they think we're overcorrecting or overreacting or whatever the case, what I can tell you is that like you might be right, but I'm much happier overcorrecting here. And if that means you can't drink in the venue anymore, I'm sorry. Like I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, but like if you have to read these stories, we can't have this happen. Like this is it's terrible. It's not your happiness, and for that privilege is not worth this.
Yeah.
And that's just to single out one thing. I'm not trying to single out alcohol as something you can safely drink and all that. It's possible, but mostly just as a general rule, like if real change is going to be made, it will probably be done in the direction where it's more onerous than you expect, and that's correct, right? That's correct, because I want to see actual measures done that are effective first before I feel like we should have tournaments ever again.
Yeah. And I don't even think, I mean, yeah, it removes the accessibility of going to a party, right? It was convenient that like for these after venue parties that it was in the venue, right? It doesn't stop us from going to a bar, right? Like it doesn't stop you and I. Like if we want to go to a bar, we want to go to KBBQ, get some shots, like it doesn't stop us from doing that. Like we can do that. It's just we do it privately and we're not creating the space where we're normalizing it. I think that like at the end of the day, people who want to party, there are bars and clubs in the city for most of them.
Sure. And in those bars and clubs, they check ID.
Yeah.
Right. And that's really like, look, I talked to the code of conduct people recently. I was like, hey, I noticed in the code of conduct, we actually don't have a level offense at the moment for like providing an underage person with alcohol. Right. And I was like, we should probably add that. Right. And like that's like none of us even thought about that, but when you think about it, it's like, yeah, that should be a thing. Like you shouldn't. That's illegal.
I mean, I'll tell you why.
Illegal.
I mean, I'll tell you why.
Very
right?
Illegal.
Right? Like when you're in high school with like your 10 homies, right? Like the goal is to find a way to get alcohol, right? And when you're in a Smash Fest with your local area, like, and there's like 10 to 15 people, everybody could vet each other, right? Like you're gonna get alcohol. The issue is that you can't vet everybody at a national. You can't vet everybody at a major. You can't vet all 200 to 2,000 people and say that these are all good people. Heck, even in the 10 to 15 people looking back, some of them may have been really shady and we just didn't know. And so I think that's why it slipped under our noses, because like, with our local group of friends, right? Like we get alcohol, we don't bat an eye about it, and it doesn't feel like a national should be that different, but it is. There's strangers, there's people we can't vouch for.
Right, exactly. And Yeah, so I think like the bottom line is that we are a very vulnerable community, right? Um, in many ways, right? The problems are hard. We're vulnerable because number one, we're seen as a target, right? Like a Smash Brothers tournament, if you just read it out loud, sounds like something. You know, if a pedophile reads it, they'll know that's that's somewhere to go. So there's that, and then there's also the fact that we have such a massive size and scale relative to like the rest of competitive anything, right? Like go to a chess tournament, it's like 100 people, right? Like go to like an FGC local, it's 5. There are an FGC locals, there's like 2 of them. There's one in SoCal and there's one in NYC. Go to anywhere else in the country, they just play online, right? They don't really have locals. It's kind of a myth. um and like or just the size and scale of Smash. You have to remember, like, it's like for Ultimate as an example, like what was the number that they had? Like it was like 1,000, or it was more than 1,000 100+ tournaments when we left off in 1 year. Like it's insane size and scale with insane decentralization, right? And there's nothing you can point to in this earth that is to that level except for maybe Magic the Gathering, right?
Pokemon
And
is pretty high up there.
Pokemon's up there, but they're still not the same level by the numbers. Pokemon is up there for sure. And so uh like the fact that what we have is so like um low funded and decentralized naturally means that when a predator or someone who wants to cause harm comes into the community, the person they're fighting against is like a 19-year-old TO, right? Like the person
Yeah.
that's like who they have to run, like sneak things by, right? And it's totally a different ball game than otherwise. And uh that's how they get away with things, right? And that's where I'm like, these problems like are only going to happen with cultural change, people taking it seriously, and people maturing very quickly, right?
Yeah.
We're going to need these 20-year-old TOs to like learn about the world like insanely fast.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like, I think somebody said it pretty well, right? Like, a tournament organizer now, it has to be like holistic. They can't just run brackets, right, and find a venue. Like, they have to know the whole things. They need to know social dynamics. They need to know the code of conduct. They need to know how to like make social norms that are acceptable, right? They need to protect the people, and that's something that I think a lot of people don't realize when they get a venue.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's you host a local, you're like, oh, I just throw some tables up, put some TVs on there, and grats, I did a great job. But not really, right? Like there's more to it. There's a lot more that you actually have to do. But it's a challenge bringing people up to speed, right? We've talked about the churn before. We as fast as we bring TOs in to like run their first tournament is like as fast as the a TO runs their last tournament, right? Like it's it people come in and out because there's no money in it. So educating them and making sure that they're willing to implement the right practices is very difficult when it's a new face every year.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the local level. At the national level, it's more consistent. But like the locals really matter, right? That's where 99% of matches are. And 99% of like people's tournament experience with that. Most smashers don't even ever go to a major, right? Like the vast majority of our, if you just look at like bracket data, Smash EG data, whatever, the vast majority of the people who go to Smash, who participate in the Smash community, stay local, right? And so to cause that real change, it would have to happen at the local level.
Uh, um. So I mean, I think so. There's implementation, right? Um. I think there has to be something with code of conduct. There has to be. I think when if we do use Smash GG, I think I don't even know like if there's a way to like force somebody to like read something because like terms of services for like iTunes,
There
right?
is,
I'm
there
not.
is, there is, there is, there is. I know this for a fact.
Okay, so we need to implement stuff like that. I mean, what are like the other major ways we hit this?
Parental consent. So if you're below a certain age, and you can argue about the age, whatever, you need to have parental consent. And what's important here is you need to have the parents' contact info. If you're a TO and you have you're responsible for someone who is a minor in your venue, you should have their parents' contact info.
But
All
what
right?
if they like put a random phone number? Like, how do you like verify and scale this?
Look, man, I was coming up with these ideas in the last like
I
48
mean, because
hours.
like if you're like if you're like a 16-year-old kid, right? Like like I was a shitter when I was like 16, right? Like
I didn't expect you to critically criticize my suggestions. I was just trying to put something out there, Taffo. Jesus.
yeah, maybe that's where we find people like maybe that's like where we like procure and like I don't know some service.
Yeah, there's got to be ways. Like I'm sure
Yeah,
there are solutions to this. I know I've worked at companies, I've ran events for companies which do similar things. Like we have to have some level of this stuff. Um, like you can't just have a 6-year-old show up with a controller at your event, man. Like he's just like, "What's up? I'm ready to play."
I
And
mean,
you're
I
like,
feel like if you
where's your
literally, I feel like if you dropped off a 6-year-old, like, granted, like,
where's your parent? Where's like what's going
I feel
on?
like that's like I in an ideal world they would have the perfect environment, they'd be safe. But if you're 6-year-old and you're by yourself, like, where the hell are your parents? Like,
Sure, right? But like, man, some people have really bad parents, right? Like, and like, if there's a baby in your venue, you should probably know a little bit about what that baby's, comes from and how to like what's going on and all that stuff to the best of your ability, right?
then again, like,
Yeah.
then again, Connor the kid was like only like was like 8 or 9 when he went to locals, and they just like kind of left him.
Right. It sounds like an absurd thing to say when we're talking about like literal babies in your venue. They're not babies, they're kids, but like it, like I've seen them, right? What about Hacks Money? Like, have you seen those pictures? Yeah,
Pound three,
exactly. It's
like pound
yeah,
three, yeah.
exactly. Oh, yeah, it was literally a kid. So, and I was a kid, right? Like I started this at the scene when I was a kid. Many of us, most of us did. So, like that's like figuring out and understanding the next steps, but getting commitments from like getting the actual commitments and getting people to commit to making that change and not just be reactive and disciplinary is going to be a big hurdle, right? Because it's work. It's work that they have to do and things they're not used to doing. And they got to do it,
Yeah.
end of the day.
I had a thought and I just like totally blanked. I mean, I think there's like the age gap thing, right? Like Pokemon has the under 13-year-old, there's the 13 to 17-year-old, and then like there's like divisions, right?
I want to talk about that because that's something that JC from Nintendo has always advocated, and I've always said, yeah, that's a great idea. We should do that. I didn't fucking do anything about it, but I really meant that I thought it was a great idea, and here's the reason it's a good idea. The reason it's a good idea is because it helps kids find friends who are of like their same age group, right? And like having a social circle of friends within the community that aren't all 10 plus years older than you helps a kid adjust to the community. And it helps, first of all, I think it helps on a cultural level. People understand that, yeah, this guy's a kid, right? Like, and understand like what's going on here. I also think it's good for parents, right? I think for parents, I like if I had a kid, I'd like be like, you go, Timmy.
Yeah.
Win the bracket. I'd be like the dad on the sidelines in like soccer practice, right? It sounds pretty dope. I know it'd be pretty hype actually. I'd be cheering for.
And I think
cheering
that's
on.
like where the lines blur, right? Like realistically, I mean, I think some people are bringing up like NorCal, right? Like me as like I was like 18, 19, 20-year-old, like at the end of the day, I'm not gonna be Zach's SFAT's best friend. I'm not gonna be Pew Pew's best friend, and nor should I be. It's weird, and it's weird for many reasons, and it can easily go wrong for many different reasons, right? I understood that I'm a mentor to him. I think most people in NorCal understand they were mentors, they were older brothers, they were older sisters to them, right? They wanted to make sure that they were safe at tournaments, that they were taken care of. We knew that we weren't going to be their best friends, right? I think the big issue I'm seeing a lot in Ultimate, especially because the age is like a lot younger, not saying that mainly people have younger, is that those lines blur, right? You have, I don't know, like the Captain Zach incident, 15 and 20-year-old, where it's like normalized that you're hanging out with these people with extreme age gaps. Like when you're in high school, did you ever hang out with like a college senior? I mean, to me, that like kind of feels kind of weird.
No, I didn't. Like I could see but I could see that one like 15, and 20. I like it's not outside the bounds of reason, right? Like relative to like, I mean, Keitar's thing, he was like he's like 35, isn't he, or something, like in his 30s. I don't want to say the age wrong. I'm not trying to spread misinformation. And the girl was underage, right? Like, it's like, that is insane to me, right? But we're not saying you don't be friends. We're not saying don't be welcoming. We're not saying any of that stuff. What we're simply saying is that if in a tournament you see an adult spending all their time with someone that looks like Pape did at the time, right? That should raise some extreme red flags in your head, right? That's just not normal, right? Like, it's not something I would ever do, for example, right? Like, it's just not normal. So it's not cute.
Yeah. And I don't think we're saying that like friendships can work. Like I have a pretty like solid relationship with Zach and Kevin, but like my primary thing was to make sure that they were safe at events. And I think Bobak would say the same thing, Scar would say the same thing. I don't really know where I'm like going through with this, but yeah, I think I think the overarching point is that I think there needs to be delineation. I think that we should encourage an environment where 15-year-olds are becoming natural friends with other 15-year-olds, and that not their default isn't that they have to make friends with a 25-year-old to be a part of the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think that ultimately, like, what we're talking about is there's a bit of the what TOs need to do. I hope that the message that gets like distilled down hits the average smasher and they get it. You know, when you read some of these Twitter and Reddit comments, you lose a little faith in that. But I hope people get that these very basic things, like don't room with someone that's a minor, don't give alcohol to a minor, don't, you know, send woman nudes for no reason, like anything, you know. Like, I could probably make a list of things that I really think should be, you know, some people should understand. But I think it's important to literally state them out, because some of these people don't have, you know, first of all the years under their belt. Like, I'm approaching 30, or two, like maybe they didn't have good parenting, they weren't raised right, whatever, right? And we need to at least help them understand their boundaries. Like, this is the best advice. This is what I said before. The best advice I can give to anyone who feels like, hey, I really want to have a sexual partner, but I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know how to approach it. I don't know how to get one. I don't know, you know, whatever the case is like, I want to get one. I don't have anyone in mind, but I just want to get one. And I'm young, and you know, I'm looking. My best advice I can give you is, if you don't know what to do, and you don't know how to interact, and you genuinely feel like you do not know how to handle those situations at this moment in your development, like in your understanding, don't do it. Right? Figure out what's appropriate, and then, like, through talking to friends or whatever, and like understanding the experience, maybe get older, but like, don't jump into it without understanding what's appropriate and what's not. Like, be respectful.
I think like part of me is like I think what you and I and many people would consider common sense, like frankly, I don't think a lot of people think is common sense, which is why like I pretty seriously wrote like I think people should watch the consent video before they come to an event. Like I there are so many people that don't know what consent is, and to this day like talking to people like I'm just like dude, like she's obviously uncomfortable. Like I don't understand like why like you're still messaging her. Like stop. Like she's not comfortable. She's not responding to you. There is a reason why she doesn't respond to you. You're not chopping a tree. You're not. It's not going to be this thing where you keep pickaxing it, and after the 50th time she says yes. Like I think a lot of people just don't understand.
She's just not that into you, bro. And like, ultimately, I think that there is, you know, there's different levels to it, right? There's the people who are genuinely extraordinarily socially awkward people, and I say that in the most kind way possible, because it's some of the most socially awkward people are the people that I love the most in this world, right? Um, and then there's people who are trying to go out there and do heinous things deliberately and whatever. But um, the people I want to get through to are the people who really don't think that they are, and don't want to be predators or abusers. which I hope is most of the people in the chat, right? And just understanding like, okay, for that group of people, like what is the appropriate behavior? What are the guardrails, right?
Yeah. And most certainly it shouldn't be like if you're 30, like you're going like, oh, like you're 18, let's go. Like, and that's the thing that like makes me like the most like like one of the things that make me the most uncomfortable about all this is that there were a lot of known community members that were just like, oh, like you're 18, great. Like, and then that's it. And to me, like just being 100% real, I think that's like incredibly fucked up. And I think that totally is misaligned with how we view, in-person events and what it means to be at a Smash tournament.
Yeah, for sure. And so we obviously, when we make rulings and judgments, have to base things to some level on societal norms and what's expected. Like, so 18 seems to be the cutoff the code of conduct's using. 18 is the cutoff. But I encourage people to think critically about when they're talking to someone for a sexual relationship, um, like like the actual like position each of you guys are in life and why you might be interested in that person. If you're interested in that person because you think that you have a lot more experience with them, they might be easier because they're younger, that's not a very good reason to be interested in someone, right? So I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think like right, there's like things that like to add to this discussion. Like there's things that are like lawful, right? Like technically yes, like both parties are over 18, and so definitely it's legal. I think it's still sus when like a 34-year-old is like trying to hook up with like a person that just like turned 18. Like to me, like technically it doesn't feel right. Like it, I mean, I think it goes back to the power dynamics, right? So like I think for the point I'm getting at is I think we need to be even better than what the law states, right? We need to be promoting a community that goes like, yeah, technically it's legal, doesn't make it morally right. It doesn't necessarily align with the values that we want to uphold for the community. And I think that's like the larger like fight I'm trying to fight is like, yeah, it could be legal. Some people are saying age of consent, certain countries, 15, doesn't make it right in my book.
Sure. So I mean, again, for the functions of bans and whatever, you kind of got to go with some cutoff for age of consent. Again, code of conduct seems to be using 18, so that's there. But as with any relationship, like just understand what the other person wants almost better than what you want, right? Like, are they comfortable? Read into the situation. Maybe if you're super awkward and can't tell, if you like your social IQ isn't developed enough to like figure it out, and that's like there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like some people just first developmentally they might have problems with it, but in general, then you should try asking them, right? Like if you really want to be in good faith, be like, hey, are you comfortable with this? Like just literally say those words, like, and that might help.
You
If
know,
they're saying if they explicitly tell you they are, then you might be on the right track.
you know what? And I think this is like one thing that like I love about Vicky. Like, if I see a legit guy go up to a girl and say, "Hey, I really like you. Do you want to go out for coffee?" Right? Guy gets rejected. You know what I'm telling that guy? I'm saying, like, good shit, man. Like, you let your intentions know you got rejected, but you know what? Keep doing what you're doing, right? Because like I think with Smash, there's this like ambiguous thing where like people don't act like want to play this nebulous game and they don't actually share like their intent, and then you get people in compromising positions where all of a sudden they're at the hotel room. They didn't communicate that they wanted to sleep with the person, and then now like the person, it wasn't communicated to the other party, and there's no communication whatsoever. One party thinks like they're just doing this, the other party thinks they're having sex, right? Like,
Right,
so
and if morality doesn't convince you, I can tell you, it will if you are confident, and part of being confident is, uh, you know, uh, approaching a sexual encounter or a sexual initiation in such a way where um them saying no doesn't ruin, like they know that they if they say no, it won't like ruin you ruin you, or you won't get extraordinarily mad about it, right? That's part of confidence.
Yeah.
Going in it with the understanding of their wants and needs, that shit's sexy, right? Like, and so you'll actually just be more effective, right? If you don't have the morality to understand it, like legitimately, like these are things that will also just like people will like you more for good reason, because that's called like you have some level of integrity about how you carry yourself.
I guess it's like bait and switching, right? I think that's like the term I'm looking for. And frankly,
sure. And like on like a greater cultural perspective, like I want to remind people that like the dynamics between uh genders and in sexual initiation have greatly changed over the last decade, right? And over the last 30 years, right? And how are these ways? And so like number one, contraception and birth control and things like that have greatly advanced the cause, right? Like,
just for clarification, I'm not actually serious on it. I'm just saying, like, I'm just pointing out the patheticness of
Tafo's backing out the financial commitment real quick. He's adding up how much money he actually makes.
No. I understand that. I understand that. Aside from the financial implications, I understand how that can also lead to bad things.
Okay, sure. Yeah, you probably shouldn't be selling people. Giving.
Anyway. Sorry, I totally interrupted you.
For getting that. What was my train of thought? What was I gonna say?
I'm sure chat will remember.
Chat, someone help me here. I was saying something. It was very important. Culture norms.
Yes.
Right? Okay, right.
Good. Thank you. I didn't reach.
So in the last, I think it's like 50 years, right? Maybe more than that, like 60. Contraception, birth control, all these things started getting added. So casual sex became more accessible, right? And then and this is very quickly, like in the last like 7 or 8 years, dating apps became common, right? And these things have drastically changed what's appropriate and what's not. And how, right? How? So in a dating app, and dating apps right now, like the number one way to make a sexual initiation, right? Like that's it's very popular. In a dating app, when someone on a dating app swipe rights on you, that is a signal that they're attracted to you, that they're open to you making a sexual initiation, right? So what does that mean? That means whereas before, when people went up to a woman, man, whoever, to make a proposition, right, it was impossible for them to have any sort of confirmation that the person was interested in them, right? But because now we have the technology, there is literally a technological way of knowing if someone, at least to the best of your ability, like through a swipe, is interested in you, right?
Yeah.
So what does that mean? When you approach someone on a dating app, you know for a fact that they are probably attracted to you, right? In real life, you can't do that, right? So how does this change things culturally, and why are things moving so fast? It's because all these new technologies and new additions to society have been added, and as society, we have to catch up. And as men, as people in society, we have to keep paying attention to what's appropriate and what's not, right? And part of that is realizing that at least in the current environment, because that technology exists where it is possible, a lot of people don't want sexual initiation unless they feel like they can pre-approve it, right? So that's the world we live in. And if that's the world we live in, be very careful about making a sexual initiation, right? Because you need pre-approval is becoming something that is wanted, and frankly, it's a great step forward, right? Like I don't want unwanted sexual advances, and now we have technology, so great, let's move forward.
Yeah. But knowing that like this is kind of like the meta and like the reality we live in with like our generation, like, and I don't want to say like back in my day and like be like a boomer, like what do we like, what is like the best course of action, right? We talk about preventative measures, right? And like helping, knowing what we're dealing with. Like what do you think do we need to educate? Do we need to put more, like, fact of the matter is like this is the meta of like our age and like people like that are like 15 and up.
Sorry, I was reading chat. Just repeat what you
I
said.
mean, like, so you presented what is like, kind of like a societal norm, right? That's the meta of 2020, right? With
Right.
like interactions, relationships, consent, hooking up, right? And given that this is like how people interact, and like given that people are actually meeting in person instead of swiping right, like they are like meeting in person, like, I mean, I feel like it's messy. So like, what do you think we should be doing, like, preventatively or like culturally?
Culturally, I think there is like the two sides of the coin. One side is the people who are witnesses to it, right? Like speak up, call shit out, you know, like actually cause a stir, even if it feels awkward socially. And then to the people who are actually like trying to learn about for their own personal sexual initiations and advances, like what is appropriate. Like the expectation should be like, first of all, if she or he is not interested in any capacity, shut it down right there, right? Like just stop. And second, like understand who you're talking to, right? Understand where they are in life, their age, their position, right? Like all that sort of stuff, and why not they might not want it. If they have a boyfriend, maybe just don't even do that, right? Like as an example, right? And so on. Like um, try to put it into context. Try to find where it's appropriate. Don't just like shotgun approach it. That's a horrible idea. And you. I guarantee you, if you do it right, you won't be lonely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think the hardest thing to reconcile is like, I think like, and I think this is where like I recognize things too late, is like how different the Smash community looks from 2013 to 2020, especially when it comes to age. And I think that's like the hardest thing for me to like adapt to. And I feel bad that like I didn't adapt quick enough to realize that it wasn't like the 25-year-olds like that are predominant. It's like 13 to 15-year-olds.
right, exactly, dude. Sometimes it's easy to forget age gaps and like how much older we've gotten, et cetera, et cetera. Um, like if for me, like Smash has never been like any level of sexual avenue. Like I've literally never even done anything close to that. I'm trying to play Marth. I'm trying to do some cool combos. But like both of us have been in committed relationships for like 4+ years now, right?
Yeah.
At least for me, I'm at 4. You're even longer. Um, so understanding like where the social dynamics are, like we're a bit removed from it. So at this point, and figuring out like how to talk to young people who are struggling and figuring out what they're doing. The only way to do it is like to try to be decent mentors and be like, hey, we found stable relationships that we like. You can do it too.
Yeah. I think this is like where like I kind of like recognize privilege in like a in like non-meme way. Like, I grew up in a two-parent home. I grew up in a pretty
Right.
stable home. I had an older sister that, like taught me how to treat women with respect. I had an older brother that I can ask questions to. I had multiple communities with my church that were older brothers to me that like taught me, right from wrong, and mentored and guided me through like school stuff and everything. And I recognize a lot of people in Smash don't have that, and like I'm kind of wondering like how do we like help fill that void?
I mean, integrity is incredibly rare in this world. Seriously, I'm dead serious. The amount of people who actually have integrity is shockingly low, and that is hard to get, but you should aim for it, right? Like, I've also had the privilege of incredibly good parents, loving parents, and an awesome social structure around me. Like when I fail, they pick me back up, right? I have great friends.
Yeah.
Um, and so like uh you know that is, you're right, a very good privilege. But if you can aim for like real morality, like dude, you know I straight up think that maybe in the last like at least 6+ years, maybe more, I haven't lied once. Like I at one point in my life I decided lying is just bad, and then even like white lies I don't really do, right? And I'm being serious. Like I can't think of a lie that I've done,
You're the
right?
best Marth player in the world.
That's not a lie, Taffo. Okay, other than jokes or something.
Yeah. I get what you mean, though.
And the point I'm trying to make is if you try to hold yourself to a strict moral standard, I'm not saying I'm a paragon of anything. I'm not like a perfect person by any means, right? You know, I'm trying to think of my flaws, but forgetting that, like, but the point I'm trying to make is that if you really hold yourself to like a really high standard, you'd be surprised how easy it is to get on in life without like lying, cheating, stealing, and it's actually just a way better existence.
Yeah. And I think what you mentioned, and I think this is like what I respect about you a lot, is that like you have like a good sense and understanding. Like everyone has a story, and keep in mind, like we're not in favor of people who are abusive to other people, right? We don't condone the action. But Frank, like, and I'm saying like 100% people who are abusers in the community should be banned. But I recognize on the flip side of that, like, you know, bringing back, like, I grew up in a very fortunate background. A lot of people who abuse other people did not grow up in a fortunate background, and that's where it sucks. Like, you know, you changed some of the variables for me in my upbringing, right? Like, what if I had an abusive dad? Like, what if my dad didn't treat women with respect? Like, I would probably join the Smash community, and I would be abusive to women. I would objectify women. And so, like, I don't stand here today and say like I'm better than other people. Like, I grew up with a better background, right? And I think that's what kind of saddens me, is like, how do we prevent things from happening, but how do we fill the emotional needs of people who are fundamentally broken through their upbringing that cause them to hurt other people? And that's where it's hard for me to answer, right? I'm again not condoning any kind of behavior that is heinous. I think they should be punished.
One step, and this helped me a lot, is therapy. I think I talked about it on like one of my DreamHack interviews with Muta King, right?
Yeah.
Dude, therapy is legit, and like especially young men out there, since it's less accepted for BS reasons, really. Like therapy is dope. It can legit save lives. I'm sad about in America how expensive it is and how it's not covered by health insurance. So, you know, lobby your government for that. But mental health is legitimately insanely important, especially in COVID times. Like people are going crazy. There's so much uncertainty in life right now. And I think like how to deal with all of that baggage that is well deserved and like it weighs on you. Therapy is a good start, right? Like it's a good place to start. It's extraordinarily effective.
Yeah. I highly advocate it. I think when I was first depressed in college, you know, like that was the first time I took therapy, or I was even aware of therapy. Really good. I highly recommend it. Vicky is a huge advocate. She's a school psych. She also works on it. We are very supportive.
Sadly, what Sesky Mill is saying is true. Therapy is innately classist. Yeah, I mean, literally, you have to pay for therapy. Dude, therapy costs so much. It's like it's insane. So I agree with you, and I mean, I can't sit here and fix all the problems in the world. You know, like this is actually we're actually in a pretty bad point in time.
Yeah,
I got to be honest with you guys. The world's pretty effed up right now.
And I think the one thing that we want to put everything here. Nothing's a perfect solution, right? And if we try to ask ourselves what is the 100% solution that applies to everyone, we're probably not going to find it. But in spite of that, like things like therapy, I understand does not for everyone, but it does put us in that direction. So I think the point I'm trying to make for you guys is like, yeah, there's going to be no surefire solution to these problems we're talking about, but we at least want to suggest good ones that will help a lot of people.
Right. And when you're trying to help someone else, man, love and empathy goes a long way. Long way. It broke my heart when the Wreckful news came out, and seeing it felt like a repeat of what happened with Etika, you know? Like it's just heartbreaking. And so even if you're just on the internet and you feel like you're just putting out a comment, even and I mean this, right? Even to people who had recent abuse allegations, right? Think about what you post, right? These people are I don't condone what they've done, but I do not want them doing something drastic. And that goes for it. And I'll tell you this right now. I have contacted numerous people who have both been accused and victims because I want to make sure how they're doing and check in on them, you know? that over these last few days, and it's not because some of these people I want to be friends with, absolutely not, but because I think it's my moral responsibility,
Yeah.
right? And for that level, like I think that people need to understand the power of their words. People understand there's a human across that, and also people are talking about how you don't actually know the people behind the screen, and that like streamers, they're not actually your friend, blah blah blah. You don't know the person across the screen when you say negative comments either, like both in a positive negative way. Like it's usually talked about in terms of dismissing when people overly idolize personalities, but also the other way around, right? When you overly criticize personalities, even if they deserve it, like you don't know their situation perfectly, and you can't, right? You can't. So be careful, and mental health is extraordinarily important. Show some empathy.
Yeah. And there are a group of people that I agree that should be banned. There are a group of people that I think have done inexcusable things. I think there are a group of people who I still think they should be banned, but I would hate that the reaction in the vitriol would lead them to commit suicide, right? And I don't know if I would be able to live with that.
Right,
Yeah.
and like you gotta be vigilant, right? Just like we're saying, like be vigilant and determining and finding like red flags, where whether it's like someone is like being a little too touchy with a minor, right, and things like that. Like keep your eyes open and be aware. Like we're currently in a situation where people are being um have the internet against them, are losing their entire social circle, are losing work and everything they built up, and their entire image, right? Like all at the same time, probably their family too, because of what they've done. So like that is the recipe, right? And uh as heinous as it is, you got to respect human life, and you got to understand that um mental health is a real thing, and we have to do what we can.
Yeah. And keep in mind in the larger context, like um and we also aren't saying, we're not dismissing the victim side. We also recognize and understand that for a lot of them, their lives are permanently fucked. Like,
Sadly, I also I'm saying this for victims as well. Like,
yeah,
reach out to them, because like you see with Puppe, where what he posted, like they're getting it, weirdly almost as, or maybe more harassment. Like Jisoo, how much hate she got for Zero stuff, like all that stuff. Like, make sure they're doing all right if you know them personally, and if you're their friend. It's important.
and the the thing here is like, and this is why like the consent of like a victim and where they're at is like super important, right? Like, I don't know if like Puppy was frankly ready for like all the discussions that would happen around him. Like, imagine being his age and having this discussion in chatter. Like it's hard, and right, and that's why like some people go like, oh, you immediately have to talk it out, and there are certain instances where we do have to speak up right away. But like for like a victim's perspective, sometimes they're just not emotionally ready to handle this, right? It's like crazy, because for a lot of these people, they don't want attention, and that's why they hid everything, and all of a sudden they have the attention of everybody. They're being talked about. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. It's no easy task. Um, going out and speaking uh out about these sort of things, and it's clear to me that um that both both in the response, like just like overall, that though though people feel like um where they feel like they're almost, it almost feels like it's the same people, right? Like they're always in one camp or the other. Like either they're on the side of the abuser, or they're the side, like the side of the victim. And it's like, can we temper, like be on the side of the victim and believe them, and understand that, but at least when you make your statements and whatever you're putting out there on the internet, do it with a little level of decency for the common humanity. That's all I'm saying, is that go and do what's right and call out bad actors, but don't tell people to kill themselves and things like that. It's not good.
Yeah.
It has to be said.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, I think like going back to Leffen, like I think the more that we let this go, the more it cements itself into the point where it's untouchable. I have a lot of friends, we're based in LA, Hollywood. There are a lot of people that are untouchable that do, really big shit. We thought Mr. Wizard was untouchable. Like there's no way to remove him. So like in the end, like I'm happy and optimistic that we did it at this point, because you go 5, 10, 20 years down the road, like, I don't know, people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, they have legacies that can't be touched, and like there would be like no place for victims to speak out on abuse. So
yeah, man. Putin might be untouchable, right? In his country at least, but we don't have, no one in Smash has any level of power or protection to levels that in real life, like presidents get impeached and removed from office. They're not untouchable, right? Like who are we to say it's any?
Are
no
they
Smash
though?
Person.
All right. This might turn political. So anyway, yeah.
But you get the idea. Like, look, it's easy to pretend, and I think a lot of people like went way overboard with their evaluation of their own fame. I've always thought it was mostly like whatever amount of people know about me. I feel like I'm like a Z list, right? Like it's barely anything. I have a few followers on Twitter, right? And don't let that stuff get to your head. Make sure you understand, like, and don't try to use it, right? For sure. I know for a fact, like when Smash first blew up, it was definitely a shock in many ways, and one of them was in the sexual way. Like literally, like more attention. You're like all of a sudden you're getting a lot more sexual attention than before. It's weird. I don't really get why humans work that way, but it's true. And a lot of people did not adjust to that well, like at all. Like, and they went overboard with it, and then they try to use it, and then they like it's just a whole thing. And I'm not trying to like psychoanalyze why people are like this, but for people who gain some level of notoriety, like, man, if you're a Z-list celebrity, like just chill out with it. Like you're not that like you're not that hot of shit, you know.
I mean,
like, we're all gonna be dust in the wind one day.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're playing a party game. Like, I know we're a fighting game, but like the grand scheme of things, we're leaders of a party fighting game community.
I refuse to call ourselves as part of the FGC. I've always hated to lump ourselves with their shitty games.
Okay, we're a platform fighting game, if you want to delineate. Yeah, I mean, but again, like a lot of this comes down to character, right? Like you and I know, like then and day, like we're not leaders. We don't run this podcast. We don't have like our 30K followers. Like I'm still Daniel. You're still Aryan, right? Like,
yeah.
And if people want to say like we're something we're not, like whether it's good or bad, like we know who we are, right? Like Smash could end tomorrow, and it's unfortunate. It was a big part of our lives, but we're still who we are. Like, and I think that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just important to keep it in perspective. You know, ultimately, there is the community and what it is, but don't overblow its role in your life, right? Like, or don't put so much importance into it that you forget that your growth isn't just as someone in Smash, but also primarily as a human being.
Yeah.
Right. Like, don't like when your Twitter followers go up, it doesn't mean you're a better person. Right. It doesn't mean you're more valid. It doesn't mean, anything other than some dudes like your commentary.
Yeah.
For a children's party game.
Like, I'm gonna like take this, step back and just be real. I think, and I think this is something we learn as we get older in life. Like, I think the temptation is when you're in middle school, high school, early 20s, the temptation is, right, like, what do people think about me? And I think that's like probably one of the biggest fundamental drivers of what we do and what we don't do, right? The decisions we make are based on the concern of our reputation. Fact of the matter is, a lot of the tweet longers, they talked about their reputation, right, and how it's ruined, right, because they're so concerned. And in the day, you are who you are. And I want to, anyone who needs to hear that, regardless of what people say about you, regardless of the amount of praise or criticism you get, you are who you are at the end of the day. Nothing can change that. And I hope that you guys can come to that level of understanding and confidence in yourself, that you can love yourself, regardless of all the outside circumstances of what you do, what you don't do.
Yeah.
And if you can hold on to that core principle and confidence, like that will carry you so far. It sounds backwards. Yeah. Go ahead.
if you can figure out a way to love yourself at least 10% as much as I love myself, then you're gonna be able to be all right.
Yeah.
Like the point I'm trying to make is that I wholeheartedly agree in the sense that like if you can finding happiness is not easy, right? But happiness and being content with your place in the world and your uh, like respecting yourself don't always have to go hand in hand, right? Like maybe you're in a low point in your life, but finding and understanding, um, you know, that self respect and finding the confidence to truly believe in yourself and believe you can do anything, um, you know, that can come independently, very much of your personal circumstance, and I think part of that comes from loving other people and
Yeah.
finding caring relationships, which help you believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing. And I was always hoping that Smash would be part of that solution
Yeah. And I
because it was
think
for me. Because it was for me.
that, add to that, I think life begins to reverse, right? Instead of going for seeking validation, you're just doing things because you just want to see the other person be happy, right? And you're less concerned with, if I do this, I look good. And then your attitude shifts to, hey, like, I want to make that guy, have a great day. I want to do this for him because I care for him, as opposed to, I should do this because it makes me look like a good person. And there's a huge difference between that mindset. Just being real, I'd like to add on the discussion, whether you go 0-2 in pools or you go 4-2. I'm a really big advocate of goal setting. Doesn't change who you are. You're not a failure of a person for not making it out of your pool. You're not a failure of a person if you go 1-2. You go 0-2. And I think the less you think of your success as a human being to those things, I can flip it one or other, right? I can extend this to something more personal. You're not less significant of a person if you are in a relationship. You're not less significant of a person if you're single. You're not less of a person if you've never had sex before. You're not less of a person for many things, right? And I think if you can learn that and understand that and dig deep into that and make that your reality, like it's less likely you're gonna hit on girls for validation. You're not gonna objectify women. You're not gonna go to Evo and think, I have to sleep with a person because this proves that I'm my identity as a person. And I think if everybody could understand that, the world would be a much better place.
Man, if people could just be kind to each other, if love and empathy was there, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And I think the part of why we're focusing on what feels like extraordinarily big picture topics is because it's very hard to read these statements and twit longers and whatever, and not see, especially in the responses, well, particularly in the responses, a complete misalignment of moral values, right? I said it before, like if you Keitaro put that statement out as a defense, right? Like that was his idea of defending himself. And the only way that's possible is if like his moral code is just like way out of whack, right? And so like for people who are looking to, and trying to be introspective and trying to use this moment to better themselves, like we all should, because I know I messed up in so many ways. For I don't want to use the word enabling it, but I wasn't vigilant enough. I know I wasn't vigilant enough. And I know all of us weren't vigilant enough, right? And using this moment for introspection, like try and find and communicate with other people about these issues and get their perspective on it. Like I know in COVID where like everyone's like on the internet and like not having interpersonal conversations, but if you have a conversation with someone like about how they feel about a particular situation in regarding this, right? Like if you're talking to another Smash or whatever, like talk to them, see where they stand on it, right? And have a genuine conversation about it, because it can help both of you grow, right? Like if they say, well, I thought this part of the stand was effed up, you're like, well, I didn't think that was that bad, right? Or whatever. Talking it out will probably teach you something, right? Talking it out and figuring out, why either your biases were like this or maybe their biases were like this, and figuring out a commonality will probably do a lot in finding out where you're missing. Because I can tell you for a fact that a lot of the people that were accused did not think of themselves as predators, right? So it's not something that's always like you do consciously. So you have to be constantly self-evaluating yourself. Like it's not something that everyone, like a lot of people go out to try to do.
And I think the thing here, and the one thing that I put out a tweet, and I'm still exploring it. Just understanding intersectionality. I think at all times it's good to be introspective and to learn something. I think the thoughts I have will probably be better for another discussion, so I'm actually going to pivot. But like, I think we all change, we all learn, we all grow. I think Blur, you and I agree. Like even thoughts we've had last year, opinions we've had last year about certain things have probably changed for a certain degree. There are probably certain opinions we've held on for longer than that. I think at the same time, for us who are more lucky and we're more, um, let's say we're not like the victim of these things. I think our role in is educating people, having these discussions. I think it's hard for victims to like go and have to prove their case, or in the particular case of Smash, women having to constantly validate themselves as members of the community and having to deal with stuff. Like I think where we become good allies is we have these discussions with people. And some people, they grow up in different backgrounds, not justifying or excusing it. They grew up in a high school that portrayed locker room talk, objectifying of women, right? And frankly, a lot of them don't know better. And I think it's our job to, as like men, as like fellow guys, like, and this could apply across genders, races. I'm just using us as men in this particular example with Smash women in the community. It's on us to like have these conversations with people and to challenge people's belief. And I think the flip side of it is where I have empathy is, right? Somebody holds on to an idea for 15, 20, 25 years of their life. Like they're not going to change overnight. And it's frustrating. It requires a lot of patience, but like, the gem I have is that I've changed a lot of people's opinions on things over time, where they were like, "Hey, thanks for having that conversation with me," and that's what we should be also doing as a community.
Absolutely, people can truly change, and it's true. Um, I I watched this video recently about it's called the Engooding of No Man's Sky. It was very inspirational, right? It was about like this dude who made this terrible mistake when during game development and how he turned around. It's actually pretty inspiring. I thought it was a great video. If you guys haven't seen it, I recommend it. But I think like part of the theme of that video, the reason I bring it up is the way the guy fixed like the criticism and problems he had was he put his head down and went to work and like actually embraced the change that needed to be made. And so for me, like I look at where I might have had I might have been complicit or not vigilant enough. Maybe not complicit is not the right word, but just not being the change I needed to be in the role I and voice I have, whatever capacity that is. And I now realize like a lot of that came from naivety, right? I've had a very easy life, like undeniably an easy life, right? Um, and part of that has let me like it's been really easy for me to be in my social circle, be comfortable, hang out with when I go to Smash tournaments with Daniel, Nintendo, Joe guy, whoever I'm hanging out with at the time, and we have a good time, and I don't see what's going on. Um, and I can put my focus on things that are much easier to solve, which are like, oh, how do we optimize our event schedule for bracket flow, right? Because that's what I'm, it's fun, and I'm, we can be good at it, right? Like it's what
I mean, that's the
part of
engineer in us, right?
that's engineering us, right? But it's my naivety that like forgot that oh right, we're like have a ton of minors in this room, right? like what can we do about it? And I don't know if I could have prevented all this stuff, and I probably couldn't have, right? But I know I didn't fight hard enough. And one of the things I'm very glad about is that at least with the code of conduct, though it didn't come, like um though though it didn't come from it came from necessity, though it came from necessity, like it took a lot of people coming out for it to come, and that's sad. It took all that um that traction, for lack of a better term, to get the ball rolling on it. I'm happy at least that it was facilitated and it has stayed to some degree, right? The code of conduct has stayed to some degree.
Can we
Because
actually, speaking of which, we have like 360 people. I'm not gonna advocate for like subbing to me. This isn't about me. While you talk about the code of conduct, I have to give props to Kyle. She's been a saint dealing with a lot of patients, dealing with unneeded harassment. Um, she had a wedding. It would have been her wedding day. She posted this publicly, but COVID happened. Um, I think, if I'm not gonna force you guys, but if there is a place you're saying like, hey, like I wish to donate to something, I'm gonna put her donate link on PayPal in the chat, and I think it would be awesome. Like again, not obligated, but like it was her wedding today. If we can give her the boost that she needs, she's had a lot of stress. Like if you guys look on Twitter, endless people from all angles have just been attacking her, and it's been really shitty. She's a saint. I want to post her link here.
the way I'd put it is, if you think that reading all these stories and like scrolling through Twitter has been extraordinarily stressful and has been frankly unenjoyable the last few days, that's literally like what she's signed up to do voluntarily, and what panelists sign up to do voluntarily. It's so not fun. It's incredible, and it's part of the reason there's been so much friction in getting people who signed up to be quote unquote community leaders or TOs or whatever capacity to do stuff about this, is because it's not the work that we wanted to do. It's not the work we tried to sign up for, right? But that doesn't excuse it, and ultimately it's very appreciated. And I hope other communities, not just outside of Smash, like make changes. Like I think the FGC can learn a lot from it, for example. And not that we're like a paragon of behavior or anything like that, but ultimately I think it's a good endeavor, and if you can support it in any way,
Yeah,
do so.
yeah, and I think a lot of people wonder like, hey, like I'm becoming more aware what I can do. The CFC has an email. If you really believe in the justice of the community, you have some time to spare, you want to go through some training. Like we need panelists. There's probably at least 50 new cases. Each case requires 3 to 5 people to look at. There's a lot of interviews. Honestly, it takes like 40 man hours. And like for us to get through it in a reasonable amount of time, like everyone's a volunteer. We need more volunteers. That's one way to do it. If you're not at that level where you're supporting Piggy here, you're becoming panelist. At the very least, I think educating yourself. Like if you're not ready to, like maybe you're like this is all a shock for you. Maybe you're still in denial that these things happen. I recommend, hey, educate yourself, talk to people, get their perspective, and that's great. If the other thing is like if you're not like a really visible person or you're shy, and at the very least have discussions with your friends, whether you're in high school or college, whether it's in the community or outside the community, you see people that aren't doing the right thing, gain the courage to call out what's not right. And I think at the end, Blur and I, like, we can talk a lot, and I think one of the big things that we want to do at the end of the day is see change, and these are some of the things I suggest.
Hold people accountable, man. If you're the TO of your choice is, if you feel like they haven't done enough, hold them accountable. Make sure, like, how quickly did Mr. Wizard fall once people held him accountable for 5 seconds, right? Like it was like literally within 30 minutes, right? And that isn't to say that like the TO, your favorite TO, is doing some heinous thing, but if they're not doing enough and they haven't used this time to um, reflect on their own practices and what they need to do to make their attendees and events safer, then they're just bad TOs.
Yeah.
They're just bad at their job.
And
So.
And I think the other message I want to get across: we're all complicit. I'm complicit. Blur's complicit. The thing is, it's not the end of the world to be complicit. It's just mainly saying like, hey, like we can do better. So I think a lot of people feel complicit and say like, yeah, I'm fully guilty. But I think it's more of an invitation to say like, hey, here's what we can be. Like we're here right now. We can be like this. And so I think it's very easy and tempting to use guilt and shame to go towards inaction or just straight up denying it, like saying like I wasn't a part of this. But hey, I'm gonna straight up admit I'm complicit in this. I could have done a better job. Blur admits it, and I think the sooner that we can admit that without the guilt and shame elements, and we can promote ourselves to say, hey, this is the potential that we can be, where Blur and I, like, we want to be at that place where we can say to, like, anybody, hey, we want you to be a part of the community. It's a great place to be.
Yeah, that'd be a nice thing to say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I hope it's all for the better. We're not gonna have events for a while, so I hope this isn't forgotten. That's one of my fears. I know that sounds ludicrous because this is such a major issue, and it's like it was trending on Twitter and stuff. But I really hope, like, when, like, a year is a long time, and in Corona it's even longer. I really hope people don't forget and actually um follow through.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't have any other like pressing topics. I feel like, we went through, we talked about our lives, we talked about the issues, why these issues occur. We brought about action, callable action, actionable plans, accountability. I don't know what else to say here, man.
How sick is Slippi though?
Slippy is pretty sick. So we're not like trivializing everything that's going on.
No, I'm just saying that we
Yeah,
never talked about
I feel like we'd probably be going in circles. The discussions still need to be happening, but I feel like we've exhausted all the topics today to talk about it. We'll probably talk about it again. But Slippy though, don't know how to make this a better transition.
Yeah, there's literally no way. It's just like, what do we, I just want how sick is Slippy though. Shouts to Fizzy.
Yeah, I mean, I think a good segue is this, right? And what makes me hopeful. Every time there's been an obstacle in the community, we found a way to solve it. Venues don't have TVs, we're logging CRTs. We win the Evo drive, right? We raised $93,000 or so for cancer, right? We created algorithms for faster melee. Now it's turned into Slippy, right? The resiliency that we've seen in the fact that we're now approaching almost 20 years for this game, like, shows that, like, it gives me hope. So anyway, Slippy.
Yeah, man. That dude's putting out updates at like every few days. It's blowing my mind. Like, how are they doing this? We just got, like, how Slippy, you can record your gameplay and like watch your matches over again. They added a seek button. This is inside an emulator. I don't know if my software dev friends are people are software devs in the chat, but you know how crazy that is for like an emulator to effectively like function as a video player, like where you could just like go to a timestamp and shit. Like, that's fucking crazy. That's insane. Um, and so like it's blowing my mind at the rate that they're getting better. Like, they added stadium, they like changed. It's like it's literally legendary stuff. So I think it's good to bring up because, man, there's some light in this world, and that light is the young Fizz and R2D-Lu. By the way, R2D-Lu helped program the Seek bar, so good job.
Yeah, I think overall it seems like a pretty good collaborative effort. I think Milk Tea helped design the website.
Oh yeah, shout out to Lil. She did
Yeah,
a good job.
yeah. She's been doing user interfaces like most of her career.
Yeah, she's really good at it too.
Uh,
Yeah.
I feel like it's like a running joke. Like, if you told like the melee community that in order for CRT for melee to exist again, like, it disappears. Like, let's say an alien holds it hostage and the ransom is curing cancer, we could probably figure it out in like a year.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I think um the ingenuity of the melee community like blows my mind. In fact, if you are a software developer, and I think this hasn't been advertised enough, and you're like, what do I plug? Because I sometimes I get those messages like over the years. It's like, man, I how can I help the scene or whatever. Sometimes it's from software devs who are just like, they do their little project, whatever. Literally, the best way you can help is like contributing. It's like Slippy's open source. If you contribute to that, like, you are literally going to like change and grow melee like in the most functional way possible. Like, it is literally the number one thing you could do to grow melee, like by a long margin. That feature list is long, so if you have the skills, contributing, like, it's a dope project. Like, go for it. So
I mean, I think in like by 2023, Slippy is gonna teach you how to play like the Crimson Blur. It's like gonna give you the algorithms and tell you what you're doing wrong.
while we're talking about Slippy, like, has anyone like I don't know if I've ever talked about it publicly, but has anyone like sat down and thought about the potential? Has
Yeah.
anyone sat there and like looked into this, stared into the sky, and thought about the potential? Like the things like the laundry list of and the wish list that you could make for something like this is insane. Um, what are you trying to show with your camera?
My sleeping dog.
I see. So like just to tickle you guys' fancy for a little bit. Not to say that this can be built. I'm not putting like this is not on their roadmap or anything else, but I'm just putting it out there.
Speak it
Right?
into existence, Blur.
I'm trying to speak it into existence. But friends lists, ranked pages, like literally where you know your win loss rate by matchup, by character ranked teams. You're talking about like even first of all, once rank comes out, matchmaking will be better because you get match up with people close to your skill level, and by close to the skill level of the character you queued into. Um, like the potential stats are just ridiculous. Like, but both like because it's they already have a website, so like you could find your stats like on the website after you log in, all that stuff. Like the replay stuff can get better and better. Like they already have like custom combo videos that you can plug in and stuff for it. Like the amount of stuff that can be done with this thing, like it's literally like we just have a client now, like any other game,
Yeah.
except ours is not by our developer. Well, I guess it's a developer, but it's not Nintendo.
We got a better comprehensive replay system than like what League of Legends was able to do. We got a better net play than like what AAA developers can do. Like
we're the best fighting game net play that I know of. Primary reason we have the best game, but also because the net code is actually really good.
And we have a literal Robin Hood in our community in the form of Ludwig, who takes money from the rich mobile apps and funnels it into the Smash community.
Yeah, I'm happy he's doing that, man. Go Lud, man. What an inspiration. I gotta say it. What an inspiration. The youth give me inspiration.
Is Ludwig really that much younger than us, though?
Yeah, he's like 25, right? I think so. I think he's a genuine inspiration. Came to the scene, put his head down, worked really hard. Like his content's amazing. Like it's legitimately so well done. It's so hard to do what he does. Very charismatic guy, and now he's contributing back to the scene that brought him up. All right,
let's go.
Do we have a good human alert? Have a good human alert? Because it sounds like we have a good human alert.
He's like that booster that comes back to his like that professional athlete that goes and donates money to his like high school.
Yeah. So
are we gonna name anything after him?
All right, chill out. Yeah, I can barely get someone to call it the Blur Dash, even though I literally invented it.
I mean, even I have a move that's named after me.
No, you don't.
The run past forward smash, a Sheik.
Oh, that is the Tafficants.
Yeah.
That is the Tafficants. Me and Hax agreed at some point. I hope he remembers this. That
he probably doesn't.
we agree when it's Marth, it's Blur Dash. When it's Falcon, it's Hax Dash. Okay. We understand that I invented it. Literally, there's a Smashboards post that shows like how I did. Like it comes from me. I was like, hey, this is invincible. People didn't know.
Wait, what did they?
He popularized it, so good on him. I didn't do it in high level matches, so I get it. But I'm just saying. What about the contribution, though?
I mean, like at the end of the day, it's not the person who invented it; it's the person who popularized it, right?
What is that theory? Sheridan always talks about it.
I mean, I think Sheridan's in this chat. I saw his name.
Is Sheridan in this chat? What is that theory about how things are never named? About from like the person who invented it.
The mango.
No, it's actually the mango though. There's like a thing. It starts with S. I'm blanking on it. The Stigler's law. The Stigler's law of eponymy. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Which is like if you look at like nearly everything you thought was named after someone because you assume they invented it, almost always it's not true. And I think that's the sad reality of it.
I wonder how many like. There's been probably a lot of things. I mean, literally, there's like math theories, right? Like where one party was like minutes earlier, or one like person actually invented it, but the other person got it popularized, so they just name it after him.
Yeah, Wobbles didn't come up with wobbling, right?
It was
Like
like
that
a
wasn't.
it was like a Japanese ice climbers, right?
Yeah, it wasn't Wobbles, but it's called wobbling. Nearly every like thing I can think of in Smash, like they didn't come up with it. But having said that, it should be called Blur Dash.
Wait, why do you get special privileges?
Hello? Because I'm nice.
Okay,
Come
that's fair.
on.
That's fair.
Come on.
I mean, we've had like arbitrary reasoning for a lot of this anyway. Might as well just say that because I say so. Like the reason.
Yeah. Come on, because you should want to call it Blur Dash. Is what I'm trying to say.
Wait, is Fly Jerk Fly Amanita, or is that like another?
That's my dog Fly.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's
Oh
Fly.
shoot! I just clicked it. Yeah, that is. Oh my gosh, that's. I
That's
didn't
my
know.
guy.
I didn't know he existed.
Yeah. What do you mean he exists? Of course he exists.
I mean,
I
I
hope.
mean, he got his
I hope.
PhD, and then I don't know where he went. It's so crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, Fly gives like the best handshakes. It's like firm and like. I'm always gonna miss the Fly Amanita handshake.
What a weird thing to say. A little weird. Okay. Fly taught me all about Godzilla. That's what I gotta do. Me and him had like a very long car ride. I don't remember how many hours, but at least it felt like Fly. You can correct me, but it felt like at least 3 of the hours he literally gave me the plot synopsis of every single Godzilla movie, and there's like 20. And it was so entertaining. I was like, so then what happened to Mothra? And he just fucking told me. I was like, this happened to Mothra. And I was like, oh, all right. Fucking god damn it, man. Can't believe they did that to my boy Mothra.
Do you know what a Fly Amanita is?
What do you say?
A Fly Amanita?
What about it?
Isn't it like a mushroom?
Yeah, it's a mushroom. It's a type of mushroom.
Like, do people know the story behind your tag, by the way? Like how you got it?
My tag?
Yeah, has it been
I don't,
publicly discoursed?
I don't know if it has been. You know the story, right? I think.
Um,
Okay.
I remember you telling it to me. I afraid.
I don't think I told you. My thing comes from Taekwondo when I was younger. So I did Taekwondo, and that was like a big part of my life. And basically, there was like all these belts, right? Like that's how martial arts works. And our school was really strict that in handing out black belts, like really, really strict. Like years would go by and they wouldn't hand one out, like a whole year. And it's a big school. And so what would happen is that a lot of people would get stuck on red belt double black tip, which is like the highest rank right before black belt. And I was one of those people, and I was stuck on it for a very long time. And so like I had a nickname for those people, and they were called the Crimsons. So who am I? The Crimson Blur.
Okay.
I unfortunately never got that black belt because in my exam on the final thing, which was breaking the board with like a sidekick, I tore my ACL. So and I never recovered. So and I became washed immediately, like on the spot. I was washed on the spot. It was a big F in my life. So yeah, that is the origin of my tech. So I think sometimes I wasn't open with it for some reason because like frankly, like the whole ACL thing was not something I was open with for the public for a while. I don't know why. I guess it was traumatic or something. But yeah, that is actually the origin of my tag.
Alternate universe Blur would be like a fourth degree black belt and never entered Smash. I feel like you got into Smash because you injured yourself one day and you had to stay at home. So thank you for that.
Yeah, sort of. But I didn't just stop. Like this was I had that name. I entered myself after I entered Smash, right? Like I had the name for myself,
Yeah.
like the Crimsons and stuff before that. But yeah, I was into martial arts for like 10+ years. It was like all I did. I did it after I had the ACL injury too, but like I moved, I had to go to college and stuff, and then I didn't keep up with it.
Yeah. We're like
Yeah.
Yeah, we both broke our ACLs. Me, I didn't
Yeah.
have a courageous story. I just jumped for a rebound, landed, nothing awkward about the
Oh,
land, and
what
it
what
popped
leg? Right or left?
my right leg.
My right one too.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
We should share scar stories later.
You know what's the worst part? So I told you how they're very selective about giving out the black belts.
Yeah.
Um, so there's like a ton of the crimsons or whatever.
The crimson.
Every there's I'm telling you that's legitimately it was my nickname for them. I don't know if anyone else at the school used it, but I had it in my own little mental head, my little young head about like what the crimsons. There were so many of us, right? Um, every year we saw like someone like we had like our favorites, like who's actually going to pass this year. And I was like one of the favorites. Like there was like a there's always like two or three people who are like, I think they could do it, right? Like they've gotten better, they're in good shape. I think they can actually pass the test. And the test, it's legitimately like 5 hours long, right? The test is 5 hours long, and you have to go through a 3 month preparatory like it's called like black belt training or whatever, like
Yeah.
before you take the test. So what happens is during the training, most people get weeded out. Like it's like you're not ready, and they cut it down. And just to get to the test was hard enough. And then I got to the test, and I got to the final part of the test without him going like, no, you're done. Get out of here. You suck. Not good enough, right? I got to the final part of the test, and I broke the board, by the way. So I did the sidekick. You have to like jump over a bunch of kids. Like, so you have to like run, jump over a bunch of kids and break a board, right?
Yeah.
Which doesn't never felt safe to me. I was like, I'm jumping over, whatever the case. I had to break this board, right? I broke the board. I was so happy in that moment. This is the most blurred moment of all time. In that moment of breaking the board, I was so happy that I forgot to land. I literally was like in the middle, like, I fucking did it. And I landed. I remember looking at him and saying, yo, so I broke the board. Does that mean I'm a black belt? He was like, no, you can't fucking break your leg every time you go for a sidekick. That's not mastery. That's not a black belt. Try again next time. And I never tried again. So
Wait, I gotta ask you a question as a side note, right? You had your Oxy crew gang, right? You
right.
remember the Oxy day, Team Oxy? You had your little Oxy cronies. You mentioned that there were like a bunch of Crimson. So did you have like a bunch of Crimson cronies or something? Like, I'm a little intrigued.
That's one way to put it. I don't want to call them cronies. They were valued staff, Tafo, who did a great job. You know, so I appreciate that. Okay, that's my dad. Hey, hi, Dad. Okay. Anyway, he's telling me to not be so loud. Shouts to my dad. What were we saying? Yeah, Oxy days, dude. Those were the days. It was so much fun.
I tried to wave to your dad. I don't think he saw
Dude,
me.
he's way too handsome. Like literally, he's put on this beard, and it's like, why do you look better than me? It's fucking disturbing.
He looks like he could be a king.
Yeah, he's pretty good looking. So yeah, that's I don't know how many times. I think I've said the story once or twice on stream before, but yeah, that's the origin. So I don't think I've ever told you, Tafo. Tafo, what is your tag's origin?
I mean, I there's like a so
It's Stinko Fat backwards,
yeah,
right? If I
yeah.
remember, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
other
Go ahead.
context is like you had. I mean, so I'll give you the longer version. So AOL comes out. You know, you get your auto-generated name. I was pretty chubby as a little kid, so I went with Fat Boy. Obviously, Fat Boy is not going to be available. Looking back,
Mhm.
that's like actually a really bad name to have because like predators could probably like get me. But anyway, and then they assigned me the name 792, fatboy792 at gmail.com or at AOL.com. I actually still have that Gmail. So I have that. Warcraft 3 comes out. I'm a really big Homestar Runner fan. My internet sucks, so a lot of my records end up being on new accounts. Like I had to constantly create new accounts because I kept disconnecting. So my record would be like 3, 5, and like 20 disconnects, and no one wants to play with me. I'd be like, "Hey, anybody want to play arranged teams with me? Who wants to play on the 2v2 ladder?" They look at my account, they're like, "No." So I'd have to constantly create new accounts. It'd be like, I tried to create every combination of like Strong Bad, Stinko Man, and like Fat Boy 792. So initially it was like Strong Bad 2, Strong underscore Bad, like every iteration. I eventually ran out of ideas. I was like, Stinko Fat. Okay. That account kept disconnecting. New account, Stinko Fat 2. I'm like, I don't want to have a number at it. Fat Boy 792 is very tacky. So I created another name, Tafflikins. And I'm like, okay, let's just go with the backwards name. Easy. My internet gets fixed. I'm 25 and 0. I go to my friend's house. I'm like, okay, I'm going to play on my account. I'm 25 and 0. It's a pretty good start. I want to keep the name. I can't log in. I'm like, huh, like I am looking at this and it's just Stinkofat backwards, but I can't log in. And there's no like, so I go back home and it's like the username is saved, right? And then I realize I accidentally misspelled Stinkofat, because the I and the N are mixed up. But I was already 25-0, and that's probably like 6 or 7 hours of games, and I was just like, fuck it, I'm keeping it, and that's the origin of my name.
Nice. It's actually much better than if it was
Stinking.
Tafo Knits.
Yeah,
Tafo Knits in
yeah,
the end, right? Like, so it definitely worked out for you, dude.
yeah.
Uh,
It ended up sounding a lot better.
yeah. So, uh, yeah. The
So I basically RNG'd like with the internet gods, and it just so happened that the roulette wheel landed on Tapigans.
Yeah. And one thing by the way I'll mention since we're talking about like the Taekwondo pass, there's so much commonality between competitive anythings. Like it's all the same. Like going to Taekwondo tournaments, it was like it's the exact same as going to Model UN tournaments, as was going to Quiz Bowl tournaments, as is going to Smash tournaments, and like they're all the fucking it's all the same sort of thing. Like the machismo is there. Everyone's like, "Oh, I'm gonna destroy that guy." All that stuff. Like the hype of the brackets there. It's all the same. So there's. I feel like, dude, having a competitive outlet is so key. I feel like I don't know if I can exist without that.
I feel like the two things. I mean, I think programming has gone to a point of a meme, but like understanding like basic algorithms, like I feel like everybody should learn. I also think that everyone should be a part of a competitive something, right? They don't have to be like the best at it, right? They don't have to be number one, but I think you learn a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Learning some level of, I don't know why it's not required. I always think that computer science, like basics, it'd be probably good to have it be taught as a required course at this point.
Yeah. And
Just because this is the world we live in, right?
I mean, I think like when I was in elementary school, like the most advanced thing we learned was how to type, right? Like you went to typing classes. I think programming should be mandatory. There's so much that you learn from an advantage. Even just like learning basic, like I don't know, things for like Excel should be like taught.
Yeah, it's quite important. And it helps with problem solving and all that stuff. People are talking about chess tourneys. I was the president of my chess club. I went to chess stuff all the time. I'm shocked at how trash I am now. It's shocking to me to have a skill. It's probably the only skill I can think of where I'm so much worse at it at age 30 than I was at age 15. And I guess it's just because I forgot a ton of stuff and I like wasn't I am not in practice, but I like go to like chess.com to queue into games of chess, and it's embarrassing. I'm
What's
just
the
like,
what's the equivalent of like people getting 20xx'd and 20xx'd and Uncle Punched out of their minds for chess? Like, what are you
um,
surprised now with like technology and like tutorials being out
dude,
there that like a random
it's
13-year-old?
I I think it's the prevalence of engines. Basically, like a lot of people have analyzed their games next to an engine, and the engine tells them every single one of their mistakes to really good detail, right? And there's like the before engine era and there's the after engine era, and the after engine kids are like way out of control.
Okay.
Like I'm just like, what's going on, man? Like they all just know the openings. What's going on? Oh, and by the way, like they know the theory. I'm shocked. I didn't know
Um,
the theory. I was just kind of fucking around.
I feel like poker's like that now with the GTO solvers. It's GTO standing for game theory optimal. Like
Hmm.
you don't win games beyond a certain point unless you study simulations now in Texas Hold'em.
That's
Kind
sort of badass.
of crazy. So I think it makes we diverged into a really big tangent. It really makes me interested. Like, because literally we can pinpoint to this like very year when Slippy came out and see like this like evolutionary growth of like the average level of gameplay, right? Like if like growth happened like this, YouTube comes out, there's a boost, you know, tutorials come out, there's a little boost. Like I'm really curious to see like the people who their average skill level now and what it's going to be like in like 3 to 4 years, just because Slippy exists.
Dude, people are gonna get so good.
Yeah.
People are gonna get so good. But also, having said that, people are still so bad. It's like the always the weird mirror of melee. I, you know, I'm happy there's a lot of new players. And that's what I'm assuming. But Some of y'all have no fundamentals. I'm telling you, some of the fastest people I play, I'm like, what are y'all doing, man? You stop naring. Stop it. Like it's like just you're just getting grabbed. You're just getting grabbed. And
So
I
like, I gotta ask this, right? Like, how long does it take for people to realize that laser aerial as a Falco approach just doesn't work? Like how many like learning cycles does the average Falco main have to like learn before they realize that laser aerial is like just not a good approach to spam?
yeah, like maybe throwing a dash dance like, once in your life. Try it, maybe. Uh but like yeah, the Falcos especially. You bring up the Falcos, it's just like there's have you ever like played someone and you felt like they're so cool and then you 4-stock them or you 3-stock them? You're like, God, this guy's so cool.
I
Like there's so much going on here, and wow, he got that tech. That's badass, and it's a 3-stock. And you're like, wow, okay. I don't know
I mean,
how I ended up. I don't know how I ended up winning by so much, but
I think
it
that's
seems to be consistent.
I think that was like me at like every tournament from 2016 to 2018. I'm like finding out that somebody's playing me, and like I like watch them play. I'm like, wow, this like Fox looks really good. Like I can't do anything they're doing, and they're like 4-stocking like a random scrub. I'm like, fuck, like I don't know who this kid is. I'm probably gonna lose. And then somehow like I end up like to what you said, like 2 to 3 stocking. I'm just like, what is like going on? It's a funny story with IBDW. 2016, he's the upcoming player. He's talking himself up. I'm having a bad day of friendlies. I'm losing to like a decent player. And this is when like I was like competing, and then I'm like 0 for 7 against IBDW. This like Fox I've never heard of, like really like extensively, or I didn't think he was like a good player. I'm like, fuck, like I'm just like really bad. Like I think I went 0 and 13 on like a setup with like 2 people I perceived to be relatively unknown. I was like, like wow, I'm like so bad.
I guess that's it. That moment when you're just like, well, I guess this is it.
Yeah.
I finally watched.
So
it finally happened. I finally can't just beat everybody.
So there's a funny like story to this. So I think on the 14th friendly, right? Like it sucks being the guy that loses to both players on a 3-man rotation because you're like waiting half the time. So like I started watching his gameplay and I'm like, okay, there's gotta be something I can exploit. He's not an old school player. And then I found out that if I half approach him and then I just walk away, he would always like nair in front of me. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna test this theory out, and it worked, right? I didn't win that game, like I didn't abuse it, but I just put a mental note to myself that if I half approach him, he's going to nair or like nair or drill like in a certain spot. And then it turns out the next day, like I end up having to play him in bracket, and I'm like, shit, like okay, like I hope my theory works. I play him in game 1. And it happens. I'm like, oh shit, like this is actually working. And his his defensive game wasn't great. So I started tech chasing him. And his tech chase pattern was like tech in place, roll away. Like the most like typical like Fox Falco tech chase patterns. Like actually this is good for everybody. If you ever play a person on net play and you just want to go for a default pattern that's really common among new players, and you're like Sheik or something, tech in place, tech roll away. It's a very common pattern. So he kept doing that, and I was like, oh shit, like I got this. And then I ended up beating him. But to this day, I will always rag it in IBDW and say like I took that one set from you. But realistically, he would have kicked my ass if I didn't play him.
You know what's the worst part is that you know what was going on in the head there, right? He's like, dude, I literally just won every friendly yesterday. What is happening? What happened between the days? How is this happening? And it just the panic sets in, and it's I love competition. I got to be honest.
I was the old man on the basketball court that shot the corner 3. That's like what I can't name a bucket's a bucket. A stock is a stock, no matter how you take it. That's the way I see it.
Exactly. Though, Tafo, you'll be surprised to hear this. I am turning a new leaf in Smash. I am trying to learn every character. For the longest time, and I think this held me back. I got to be honest, Tafo, I think it held me back. For the longest time, I swear to you, for a decade plus, I only touched Marth. Did you ever see me play another character, Tafo? Literally, ever?
I don't want to talk about it. There's been definitely like 2 a.m. nights where you brought out secondaries, and I'm just like,
it was not pretty.
Your Fox definitely was the most ugly thing I've ever seen.
Okay, all right, it's gotten really good. So you need to watch your tone, okay? It's not the same Fox, all right? And my stream viewers can attest. My Fox is nice right now. It's gotten better. And I'm on a journey because I think what was one of my biggest problems was not like understanding and having like the full grasp of melee, because I literally stayed in my Marth cubby because it was a beautiful, beautiful world being a Marth, and I don't want anything else. But now dude, playing the other characters is really fun, and so I'm like, I just actually deprived myself of
Okay,
this for a very long time.
I have my own theory, and I'm going to tell you what the theory is after you answer this question. Does your fox have a nickname?
Blur Fox.
Okay, it's bad.
Okay, get out of here. You think just because it has a nickname?
I think every character person that has a nickname for their character, like it's that character inevitably, that secondary is inevitably going to be magnitudes worse than their main character.
Okay, so it is magnitude worse than my main character. I can't even deny that, right? But we're talking about like learning basic things, dude. If you told me but before like a few weeks ago to do like 10 float cancel nairs in a row, like just to do them, I couldn't have done that. I've been like, oh right, you're supposed to hold Y and down. Like I know it conceptually, but like actually the muscle memory was just, I haven't touched Peach on the character select screen in so long. Like why would I be able to do that? You know what I mean? It'd be the slowest, ugliest nairs of all time. But then I labbed a little bit, and the Peach started moving, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, the Pikachu's doing it, and it's been like a thing I've been doing, like and slowly integrating in for the last few years. Because when I was in the Twitch office, I was getting bored of just like four-stocking kids, so I like brought out my Pichu, brought out my like low tiers, and then learned with other characters. And they're starting to get to a point of competence that I think would shock people. And I think it makes you better at the game. The adage is always like focus on one character, but I think it's true up until a certain skill level. When you hit like upper or mid level, I really think learning like at least touching and becoming competent with others is probably a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way advocate I have for like not switching characters is like when you feel like you can't win the matchup because of your character. Like I feel like you should learn as much as you can, because chances are there's like key fun, especially if the matchup is like more or less even. Like I think in most cases like you're missing a very obvious fundamental if you're struggling really hard in like a 50-50 matchup. With that being said, yeah, if you want to learn really good dash dance camping into dash back dash forward grab, play Marth, because it works for almost every character that's decent.
There are certain skills that are easier to learn with some characters than others, but I think I wanted to I took to heart too much the notion that you should just stick to one character. That's like what Armada would say. That's what like tons of people would say. I took it to such heart that like, okay, I should just play one character and that's it, that I forgot that like that limits you a bit in terms of your game knowledge.
I mean, I played Ganon, right? Because like with Ganon, like you have to, in order to hit someone remotely decent, like you have to win neutral positioning to even be in the position where you can actually like at least guess at like hitting an opponent. Like I feel like if you're Fox or Falco and you're spamming laser nair, like try playing Ganon or slow character, and you will have to really think really hard to actually hit your opponent, and rather than being able to move a million miles an hour and hope that you get lucky.
Yeah. Because like there's some people who don't just get run over. You know, there's always the person who's just not intimidated by the speed, and so it won't work. It just won't work. They've been playing long enough that the speed doesn't even phase them.
They're like, oh, yep, I have my opening here. I can nair out a shield. Now you're dead.
Or also, I hate to say it, unless you're like insanely good, there's always someone faster than you, right? There's like, okay, you think you're technical, but trust me, there's someone faster than you. So what are you gonna do when you're getting outsped? You know, when you know that feeling, right? When someone's faster than you, you're just like, we're just fucking faster than me. It's crazy.
Dude.
They're seeing things faster. They're moving faster, not just on a like mechanical level. They're literally reacting faster to everything, in every situation than me. Like, can you still win that match? That's pretty hard.
Not gonna lie. I that's brought up just a really bad memory. Like, so I played Mewtwo King at like Genesis, and we got pretty close, right? Both last stock games, and if I just had a slightly better punch game, I probably would have taken one game. I was like, okay, I'm like feeling pretty good. I play Moki and losers, and I'm like, oh shit, like I didn't even feel like I got to play the game. He is so good. But to that moment, like I will say, like Moki has incredible fundamentals. Didn't give me the right spacing to do anything I wanted as Sheik. Like he clearly, obviously knew like where Sheik can hit him. But man, that was such a struggle. But yeah, like if you can combine that speed with strategy and fundamentals, like then like you get that whole picture. Like you just invalidate like everybody. Like you become a top 20 player.
Yeah, for sure. That's what it's all about,
Dude.
man.
And in another story, KGH.
Yeah.
I've shared this story a few times at stream. KGH, known as like one of the OG, like one of the newer school technical gods. Um, in 20, like he's already like getting top 32s in bracket, probably top 50 player at that point. We go out to the grocery store to get some like water and stuff at SmashCon, and he goes like, "Hey Tafo, I like how come nobody told me this?" I'm like, "Wait, what? Like, what do you mean?" And he's like I didn't know that I can watch my opponent. And I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, yeah, like if I watch my opponent, like I didn't realize that I can like read their movement or figure out patterns. I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, it's kind of crazy how far tech skill goes in this game.
It'll get you extraordinarily far. It truly will.
Like
and yeah, like you can actually, to quote, this is something IBW said. He's like, dude, honestly, against 99% of people, like I don't even think I'm just running them over. It's like that's what I'm doing. Like that's like step one. Um, and you can honestly do that with. It's not just like a spacey thing. You can pretty much do that with every character. Like you think Plup can't run you over with Sheik? You're wrong. Like that dude will just run you over. You could do it with Marth. Like you will play Zane, he will feel faster than you, and you're just like oh, like you could be a spacey. It doesn't matter. He's still faster than you. Like it doesn't actually matter. So
like imagine playing Link against like I don't know, like an IBDW Crush or like any of the fast foxes now. That seems so miserable. Like anyone that's like Link tier below.
Yeah, I think it was I was in Zane's chat and we were talking about it. I don't know, like how far can a Link go in 2020? And I said I think a Link could get top 32 at a major, and they were skeptical of even that. And I was like, maybe they're right.
Like I feel like
no, I think I said top 16. I said top 16. I think top 16 maybe they could do it.
I mean, you have to get like extreme bracket luck, right? And like I feel like defensive options are so good with Fox that like I think what kind of carried like a lot of like the earlier era Links is that people didn't know how to DI against like Link or understand that his shield sucks or that like there's ways to escape his combos for free. Like I think part of the reason why like the DKs kind of work out is that for like certain matchups you only have to win neutral for like 4 or 5 times to like win the set.
DK is also like, I don't know if he's even
he's not a bad character
or no, but like is he I don't even know if he's much better than Link, but his punish game is fucking incredible.
Right. And then you can like
it's like it's so good, which might actually mean that we're misevaluating DK. Like sometimes you see Link above DK on tier lists, right? Like it happens. But like yeah, DK touches you, especially as like Martha Sheik, you just feel like you're dead.
Like even to a loose extent, like if you get a combo start on like Falcon, like Falco, like he has a decent. I mean, I'm not saying his neutral game's great.
Pretty much every top tier, like DK just fucking kills you. It's he's got one of the best punish games in the fucking game. That's so, like bought like straight up.
So I think, like keep going.
Yeah, so I mean, I could. You're right that I could probably see a DK doing a lot better than a like. I could see a DK making top 8. And that's not because I think DK is good or anything, but like I could see someone getting thrown by the monkey like 12 times and doing a big upset. Whereas Link, it's like, damn.
Like what's your gimmick gonna get you? Like an edge guard here and like 20% there. Like like I can see a world where like Falcos and Foxes think that Nair works and then they get CC grabbed and then they're dead. Like
Sprawlzor says he can get good combos on floaties too. Yeah, I'm like legitimately DK has one of the best combo games in the game. Like it's just like purely. It's very hard to think of many characters who are better, especially characters of that like tier, like in that tier. Like there is no character in that tier who has a better combo game, right? Yeah. Like Ganon's combo game is nowhere near it. Like Punish game, nowhere near it. Like the Mario is nowhere near it. Luigi, like it's
Just-
DK's punch game is insane.
So here's how I feel about DK. DK is like that off meta deck that works when no one suspects it. I think
Yeah.
DK can make a surprise, but the more common DK is in the meta, the worse he does.
Oh, for sure. Because like, it's so hard for DK to hit anybody. He's
Yeah.
just so big. He's so big, and all he has is bear, and he can't face forward, and all the all the classical problems that DK has. But yeah, I don't know. I think part of the discussion was from like looking at Hugo's goats of every character. Hugo's making like the worst lists ever, by the way. I don't know if you're paying attention.
Oh
He
yeah.
put the goat for Link. He didn't put Germ. What's wrong with him?
You can argue for Sheik. Like Captain Jack wasn't even mentioned.
Dude, he didn't even mention Korean DJ on his list of like. It wasn't even like in the top like list. He like Korean DJ might be the goat cheek. Like, what are you talking about? What, he didn't even list Korean DJ? Are we living in a different world? Like, that's one of the greatest players of all time.
Yeah.
I don't understand. He didn't even put him on the list.
And like Plup, like like his Sheik's great, but like he's never like soloed him to like really far places. Like it's like to me it feels like a secondary.
I'm not saying that Plup couldn't be the goat cheek, but like he like the video he put out, he didn't even have a conversation about Korean DJ. I'm like, how is that even possible? This is the guy like people
Right,
didn't go
so
off stage,
when
off
is
stage before
so
Korean
when are
DJ.
you gonna make your blur reacts? You don't know like the YouTube meta because you should be creating a blur reacts to Hugo's list.
I could be making YouTube videos. My
All
chat
right,
makes fun of me.
okay, and then
all the
say blur,
time.
blur. I think Armada is the master of this, ironically but non-ironically. I want you to give me your best YouTube face. You know what I mean?
One of the geez, you got good ones. I don't know.
No, stay still. Your camera lost focus.
Really? Oh, okay. Well,
Do it again.
I can't do it again. It was a special moment. I don't understand how people. That's I think one of my problems with like making YouTube content. I don't know how people seriously do that stuff. Like I can't like I can't in earnest like take myself seriously and then do that. I know it's necessary. I know it's literally necessary.
I can't. Okay, I want you to dialogue and imagine this with me. Pretend that you're Armada's like YouTube editor, and you had to have the conversation with Armada about this.
Mm-hmm.
Like how like. Yo, Armada, like, this is the meta. You have to make this face.
I need you to give me like 15 picks, man. I just need it. I'm sorry. give me all types of emotions. It's like a photo shoot.
It's like, what would Armada's motivation be for this? Because it feels like Armada has never been shocked in his life, and that's what makes it so funny. Like, he's like the most stoic, logical, like, controlled, like, dude. Like, what was like the internal motivation of like, when somebody's crying, you go like, think of a sad moment. Like, what was Armada's like, what does Armada draw on for like?
Yeah, I can't. Armada and acting just don't seem to like be things that go together. So yeah, I don't know.
Wait, by the way, have you seen Ambi Sinister's like Photoshop of Armada's face with Iran did what?
Yeah, I did. That's a really good one. That's a great meme. It's literally one of the best memes of all time.
Did you see Zane's parody video of Armada?
Yeah, Zane's YouTube is amazing.
Yeah, very
Zane's
underrated.
Super good, actually. Dude, like YouTube is such an art. It's literally like such an art.
I mean, it's an art, but it's also like methodical, right? Because you need to know how to hit the algorithm well to like make a living off of it.
Yeah, but also it's like accidental because no one knows what the algorithm is. It's like the Wizard of Oz, No one knows what's behind the curtain.
Yeah, and then the curtain's like changing every like few months too.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. It's probably very stressful. Twitch, on the other hand, is like the opposite, which is like it has no algorithm, it has nothing, no curation, nothing. And it's funny because like people shit on the algorithm for YouTube all the time. Like, I hate this about it. I hate how it's so this and that and the other. But then you look at Twitch, it's like, well, there's actually just no way to grow, like endemically. Like there's just actually no actual like on platform way to grow. So
yeah, if you're not immediately discoverable, or you didn't have clout before, or you weren't there in the early days, you're kind of out of luck.
Yeah, it kind of just doesn't work. or you're not famous from YouTube. Like the way people do it, of course, now is they grow through YouTube and then get big on Twitch because Twitch is where the money's at, right? Like so,
Shouts to
uh,
Ludwig for figuring that out pretty quick.
he figured it out pretty quick. But I mean, that's like been the strategy for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's just funny because like the only thing like people don't like either system. I feel like people hate the fact that you can't grow endemically on Twitch. Like there's just like literally getting new followers and users to like look at your stream is like literally impossible.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, like
and
for
then
real, like even like getting subs, like I can't say right now that I would get a sub by just saying, "Hey, somebody give me a sub right now."
oh, this guy's trying for it. Very well played. The reverse psychology is genius. Such five head moves.
Well, I mean,
Uh,
I'm pretty sure somebody would be like, "I have $5 to kind of meme this story."
yeah, I know you were. I saw what was going on here. I'm not naive. I'm not a spring chicken here. Uh, um, so, but no one did it. Oh, I'll let you know.
There's like a delay. Plus, I think
Yeah.
legit there's like a 30-second delay here. Plus, in addition to that, like they have to access their PayPal, like so. I mean, yeah. Oh, there we
That's
go.
that's
Thank you,
your hope
Mufasa.
springing. Okay, Nefasa did it just because he felt bad. At some point, he was just like, "Dude, this is dragging on too long. Let me give you a pity sub." That was the biggest pity sub I've ever seen in my
I
life.
feel like that's like the friend that realized that no one was going to my birthday party, so he was like, like I don't want him to have a
Yeah.
guest list birthday
Because
party.
imagine if we just kept going without the sub for like they were like, "Oh, I guess it's not happening." It
He
is
would
way
admits
worse.
to it. Taffo has no friends, so I felt bad.
It's definitely a pity sub. Uh, dude, like, so, how is this? How are you? How's CLG working out? Like, how's like fucking esports going?
I mean,
Is it should I still be trying to go into that industry and get back again? No, right? Absolutely not.
I mean, I think for me, it's like, I mean, like, so obviously, like, there are like performance goals for me, right? Like, no matter what job, but like, I think yeah, I mean, like with Mango as his coach, like there were like some visibility. People expected him to do well, but realistically, Cloud9 wanted me to like manage him, so like I like helped a lot with his like partnerships and fulfillment. So like yeah, results are nice, but like my job wasn't really predicated on like whether or not like Mango got first every tournament. So I think the interesting part for me is like I mean for people that don't know, I'm the GM of the league team for CLG. That like I could get fired for poor performance, right? Like, and the
Hmm.
viability of whether or not I get to stay in like the competitive space depends on how well my team does. Like, and it's nerve wracking, but also exciting. So it's hard for me to like say like talk about like as an esports industry. Like I feel like within esports, which is already niche, like I'm already in like a sub niche part of like esports, if that makes sense. Like I can't holistically say like my job is normal.
Yeah. Um, dude. So they're just playing all the matches online. Do they just not have like care about competitive integrity? Is that just like the whole? Is how that works?
I mean, there's like webcams for everybody, so like they check through webcams. Obviously, like it's understanding that like yeah, technically somebody could cheat, right? Like, somebody could be talking. I think the easiest part of this is, I mean, I think the one guideline we have is that there's a mutual sense of trust, which obviously leaves vulnerabilities. But the flip side of it is if there's any suspicion that you get caught, like there are severe ramifications for teams, and like if you're a player that gets caught or like gets involved in any way, like you're just banned.
Oh. Yeah. That's for sure. But like, there's lag. No.
No, I mean we have the tournament server, and like keep in mind like even at the LCS, like you're playing
They
on like a
they, they
server.
still do the tournaments for dude, that's so fucked.
Yeah.
I hate it. They for the people who don't know, they don't actually do LAN for their actual they've never did it. That's never been a thing they do. They're actually online all the time. It's like we ran online tournaments as their actual
I mean, I
like
think
way of
if
doing it.
people were like in the OG days, like worlds, like literally, like the server died, like made like worlds like finals or like one of the
Yeah.
like latter rounds of worlds, and like you had people sitting around at like LA Live like next to the Staples Center for hours, just like waiting for like Riot to fix the server.
Yeah, a lot of esports is done that way.
It's still surprising. I mean, like I guess that like the whole point of that, like, one of the things I take away from that is like you would think that everything is buttoned up, but you realize like melee is grassroots, right? Like, and that's reality, and we have to like attach like bubble wrap or whatever we can find together to make things run. But then you kind of realize that when you get into the professional space, like whether it's like sports like the NBA or like with like league and Riot, like things aren't as like well oiled as you like think it is.
Yeah, for sure. People always like are always like pretend like Smash would be all that much more professional. Um, hey, do you mind if I take a call real quick? My girlfriend has called me like literally 4 times in a row.
Wait,
I'm just like, what's going on?
if I knew that, I would have let you go.
Just give me a second. I'm see what this is about.
Okay. Well, Blur's away. I'm slowly getting there. Um, so I'm trying to collect Hidden Faith, which is a set. There's the set's really hard to collect. A lot of glare. Um, so yeah. So let's see. What Pokemon cards do I have? I'll show you some of my cool stuff. So there's my Lugia. One sec. What's up, Fire? Let's see. These are some of my other graded cards. Oh,
Her emergency calls because she had a moth in her house.
oh, 1 second.
And
I have
let me
Echo.
tell you, it's an emergency.
Yeah, I was just showing some of my Pokemon cards. Let's see. I'm showing some of my graded stuff. So PSA 10, 3 birds. Um, actually, that's probably not like. It's only a. This is only a PSA graded 6, but it's a first edition Blastoise.
Wait, what? Dude, that's got to be very expensive.
It is.
Is that the most expensive of the bunch that you have, or?
I have some really expensive Charizards.
The fuck?
Let's see, Gengar EX PSA 8. This was an era, Gengar in the era where Wizards of the Coast printing was really bad, so a lot of these came pre-scratch, so it's really hard to get a high grade. And this was in the downturn when Yu-Gi-Oh was trying to get more popular.
Jesus.
I do have a Shadowless Charizard. Also,
oh my gosh.
So like, these are just some stuff I have.
Oh my gosh. Dude, some of these are like worth like a ton of money.
Yeah. And then, I have like everything, like the older sets, like you guys should recognize all this. Like I have complete sets of Fossil Jungle base set.
So have you been doing this whole time? I never knew you did Pokemon card collecting.
I actually had a lot of these in a box, and I realized I didn't have like these cards I have in my hand, like I totally forgot I had them.
Yeah. I used to do collecting of my own.
What'd you collect again?
I collected rocks. So basically, I had this tradition ever since I was a kid, where every place I ever lived or visited, like let's say I went on a trip or whatever, I'd take a rock from that place and add it to my rock collection, and it'd be like part of my rock collection. And then one day, like a family friend was over, whatever, for just over, and she was a little kid, right? She went to my room, found my rocks, and took like a Sharpie and just started drawing all over them. And then I was so mad and sad. I feel like I'm still mad about it. I think about it literally every time I see her. It's so fucking petty that I stopped having a rock collection because I was just like, all my rocks are ruined. They're all ruined. and they're sweet pictures too. She like drew deer on my like rock.
Yeah.
Okay. No, for sure. So I used to collect. I actually had Pokemon cards too, but I never got. I'm clearly to the level you're a Pokemon master over there. I play Pokemon Smile a lot. You play that at all,
The toothbrushing game.
dude? It's so much fun.
Like,
It's the best. It's the best Pokemon. I'm just gonna say it. It's the best Pokemon thing to come out since Pokemon Go, and that's a fact, right? Um, and people will be like, "Oh, so you should you hate it? What about the mainline games?" If you think Sword and Shield was a good product, you just have bad opinions. I'm just gonna say it. So it's literally one of the worst games I ever completed. Such a bad game,
I think
uh,
Sheridan's literally never played a Pokemon game.
and I get it. Um, so I was playing Pokemon Smile, fun art style, awesome. I highly recommend it to people. You brush your teeth and you catch Pokemon. It's fucking awesome. It makes no sense why it's so much fun, but I'm collecting Pokemons and it's awesome.
I mean, they literally go with the endorphins, right?
Yeah, sure. And okay, it's not like it's just a little phone game, but there hasn't been a lot of good Pokemon content for a while, so I'm still gonna call it the
Okay,
best thing to
I'm
have.
actually really curious. Like, and maybe there is no element of this, but what are like the pay to win elements with this game?
There is none. I don't think there's any monetization at all. They didn't monetize this thing at all, which tells me, unfortunately, that they're probably not going to add new Pokemon because they only have first gen in there.
I mean, that's what appeals to most people, right? Sadly.
Uh, first gen, it'll never stop being that way. I feel it's just how it is, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I don't think it's always right either. Like, there's so many cool Pokemon from later gens that deserve some genuine love.
What's your
But
favorite
come on,
Pokemon, by the way?
oh Caterpie for sure, 100%. That's my profile picture on Twitter.
Oh, really?
Caterpie, yeah.
Oh.
Caterpie's the best. I still haven't caught him in Pokemon Smile. Someone asked. I've been trying to get Caterpie. Oh, Caterpie's the best. You know why I like Caterpie?
Um.
He's just trying to find his prime, trying to find the next evolution in himself. He's a dreamer. I love the dreamers. Also, he's cute as fuck. Caterpie is cute as shit. I think what Caterpie is trying to say to us, he goes up against Arbok, and I guess it was in the episode. It was coughing and Ekans. He goes, you throw a Caterpie out there against a goddamn Gyarados, it'll fight with heart, with string shot and tackle in its moveset. You're telling me this thing is not a legend? Oh,
No.
your favorite Pokemon is Zapdos because it can rain down lightning from the sky?
If we're gonna play by like anime rules, let's be real. Like nothing about like season like the first three seasons and like the what was it the Indigo League made absolutely any sense.
In what way?
Like Ash's Pikachu beating Brock because like the sprinklers go off.
Okay, that shit was crazy. It blew my mind. I was like, how does that make any sense? You know, Brock, don't put sprinklers there. What are you doing?
It's like he literally like fluked like every badge. Like I don't remember like how many like is there a count of like the legit amount of like badges like Ash legitimately won?
Dude, he didn't win anything ever. Didn't he? Didn't he recently though? I mean, I haven't obviously kept up with the anime, but apparently I saw memes out there like earlier that he finally won one. Right? He finally won one,
I think he did.
like a real league. Like he finally fucking did it, and I was so proud of him. I wonder, what do you think was the reason they never let him win? Like, do you think there was like a artistic or like something they were trying to tell kids or something, like that they just didn't let him win?
I mean, I think that's like probably the obvious answer. He's not relatable to like the majority of kids because like only one person wins out of thousands, right? In like competitions. So like I feel like they're
I think they were trying to tell something to kids. I think they were trying to tell kids to accept losses, and like it's not just about winning and stuff. Like, imagine if he just won all the time, right? Like if this kid was just crushing it, he's the best in the world and crushing it, and that's like all you had to work off of. Don't you think he'd be a dull character?
he would. The flip side of it is I remember like by the time Pikachu, like Ash and Pikachu, go to like Iron, like the fifth journey, right? Like Pikachu should be like level like 582, right? And then like the Pikachu loses to like a random new trainer, and like the Pikachu should like try harding. Like it makes no sense.
Dude, Pikachu should be literally the strongest Pikachu to ever exist of all time. This Pikachu has seen some shit.
Does
It
anyone
is,
remember that? Like Ash randomly losing to like a new Pokemon.
but also like the first, what was it like the first episode? Pikachu takes out like 50 sparrows. Like there's a level 1 Pikachu or something, level 5 Pikachu, 1 to 5 Pikachu. How the fuck? Like how is that possible? It's like literally creates thunder to to a degree that okay, it was raining, so apparently that was the reasoning, but my god. How? How does he do it? Because it was raining? Dude, rain doesn't do that. rain,
You know,
rain, have you like try to transmit electricity like into the air, like, and then just like when it rains, do you think it just like blows up everything in its vicinity? That's not how it works.
I'm just
It's
like,
like
so like adding to that, like how the like don't you think there's like logical inconsistencies with like the trainers themselves? Like you have a Charizard, it literally has wings. Like how do you lose to like 90% of the Pokemon?
yeah, like Bellsprout.
Yeah.
Oh, you're really gonna lose to a Bellsprout even though you're a flying Pokemon? Are you serious? How? It's impossible. Right? Like, oh, you lose to like a grounded opponent when you have a type advantage. You're in the air. He has nothing that can reach you whatsoever, and you can breathe fire, and you lose. Makes no sense. And that's why I like Caterpie, because Caterpie, when he goes in there, okay, he goes in against a Gyarados, he goes against a Mewtwo, and he will go in there loyal as even though you are a horrible trainer for putting him in that position. In my opinion, it's actually very immoral. It's insanely
I was
immoral to
just
put a
gonna
cat.
say it literally is like animal abuse, right?
Yeah, it's you put a Caterpie against a Mewtwo. What is wrong with you? Uh,
It's like literally like let's say you had like Rattata, right?
mhm.
Like you have a gym rat in real life. Like would you put it against an Ekans? Like the
Yeah,
Ekans is literally gonna eat the Rattata.
that's how it works. Uh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's just gonna faint. It's just gonna faint. You know, a freaking tsunami comes at it from a freaking Blastoise, and yeah, Caterpie's just gonna faint. Um, but like, okay, so you're talking about we're talking about those obvious logical inconsistencies, but who decided that like the trainers are just going to power, like have very neat power levels as you go on? So you're telling me they organize it such that everyone who's between a certain power range is in Route One, like in the like that's like the level 5 area, and then the far like as it goes on, people get stronger, like that's the geography of how it works. What about people who like live in Saffron City and they're just starting out? Are they just fucked because everyone around them is level 40 and they just can't win? Like if you're a 10-year-old who just starts out in Saffron City, do you just get owned every single day?
I mean, like the flip side of it. So at least did you see how Pokemon Origins did the gym leader logic?
No. What is it?
So like when Ash plays against Brock, I think like and in that like short um series, like he looks at how many badges you have, and then he takes out a different set of Pokemon based on the number of badges you currently have.
Okay, so I get that that makes sense for the gym leaders, but what about the standard trainers? You're telling me everyone does that? And if everyone does that, then why am I fighting a fisherman who puts out 4 Magikarp on like 75% through the game, right? Like you're literally 75% through the game, and this dude's coming at you with 4 Magikarp?
Well,
What's he thinking?
let's put it this way, right? MDVA was a really good skill wise was really good region, right? Is there region disparity? Like, are they grinding and fighting against each other and like learning, leveling up really quick because they have better competition?
So you're saying that because all the level 40 trainers are near a certain area, that they brought all their Pokemon up to that level, and that's why it is. But that's not true. If two level 5 Pokemon fight, one of them's going to grow in level. And so naturally, the level 5 Pokemon are going to continue to grow. Like, it doesn't make any sense, Tafo.
It doesn't have to make sense though.
I'm just saying, is maybe what it is that they like have there's this thing where it's like everyone has to start in Pallet Town, even if you don't live in Pallet Town. But then what? Like people have to do like long distance stuff. You
Yeah.
have to actually like fly to Pallet Town to participate in the Pokemon League. And there's like a conspiracy that all trainers have to like in that case, if that's true, then the trainers you meet along the way are also just kids on their journey who like um have similar level Pokemon as you because they're on the same part of their journey.
I mean,
Same
the flip side adding to this, like, why are 10-year-olds going like on their own, right?
Okay, well, that's just the open question. That's just the open question. But putting that aside, also I can never like the Pokemon anime made Kanto seem so big, right? But the actual game and my understanding of it always felt like it wasn't that big, like I can't the size and scale of it because in the anime they just added a bunch of cities, like a bunch of cities that aren't in the games, right? And it felt like it was like an entire nation, like Kanto is like a freaking nation. It's huge, and so just the size and scale of it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm like, I can walk across this thing in like 15 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty small world.
I get that's a video gameism, so there's things you got to forgive, but it's like I'm having the world building, man. It's all about world building.
Uh
It's all about world building.
so I guess on speaking of world building, are we going to get a Pokemon MMO?
Dude, isn't there like a non Pokemon MMO?
Mm,
Whatever that one that like is in beta right now?
is it?
Yeah, there is like it's like only 2v2 battles for some reason, but it's like a Pokemon clone, but like it's an actual MMO. It's basically what people have been asking for. Temtem, that's the one.
Wait, so
I'm
I
talking
need
about
to do I need to talk to my boy JC?
people say it's cool. What do you mean talk to your boy JC? What does that
Like,
mean?
how do I get access to this?
I think people you can just sign up. I think it's like a beta.
Oh.
I want to look, I've never played the game. I'm literally just making stuff up. Um JC doesn't work at Pokemon Co. That he says, well, Temtem isn't a Pokemon game, but it is on. It's only on PC, I think. Um, I'm talking about a game I don't play, so I feel like I'm just. But it looks cool. I saw TK playing, and he said TK said it's really good. So I have no faith in Pokemon games being good anymore, but I'm still probably gonna buy them.
Hey, Pokemon Snap 2.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be really bad. I hate to be the guy to say it. It's probably not gonna be that good.
Don't say that to me, Blair.
It's true. You guys think the MOBA's gonna be good? They're outsourcing it to Tencent, and like it's clearly like the most transparent cash grab I've seen in my life. Like they're just like, here, have this IP and put it on your uh, Arena Valor engine, like, and just fucking throw some Pokemon IP in there. Like, come on now. Um, so I have very little faith, sadly. I hate to say it. Lower the expectations for a nice surprise. I do that in general because I was scarred from like Guild Wars 2 and Brawl and like all the other games that disappointed me in time. But there's the occasional game which I don't do that with. Like Last of Us 2 was one of those. Baldur's Gate 3, I'm like I just I can't mentally convince myself not to be excited. So there's occasionally times for that, but for the most part I don't try to get too excited.
You've had your heart broken too much.
Dude, Brawl did it, man. Broke me.
I remember for the longest time I was trying to convince myself that it was just me. That
Um
that like
I've ever,
I'm crazy and that this is like a good game, but I'm just like not seeing it.
have I ever told you my first like 72 hours of Brawl?
No, you didn't.
Oh, so basically, I was at UVA at the time in college, and Brawl was coming out, right? and so we had a gaming club, and they're like, "Hey, come to my dorm or whatever. We'll all get together on launch at midnight, and we'll all start like we'll have a Smash Fest, right?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, right?" And for whatever reason, this gaming club was sponsored by an energy drink. I want to say it was Nas. I want to say it was Nas, if you remember that brand.
Yeah, I remember it.
And so I go there, and literally we're talking about the most degen gaming, like from midnight to and onward. And I literally, so I don't drink energy drinks at all, and I just kept on downing energy drinks over and over again. And I literally was in that dorm playing, and other people were too, for like 72 hours, like for a long time. And it was weird because like I started out being like, hell yeah, like super excited, like being into it. And then like it was literally a 72-hour complete experience where it was like by the end of it I hated it. Like literally by the end I was like, I don't know if this game, I didn't like I kind of didn't believe anymore, right? It was like a full, I condensed when most people did in like for months and had to like reason for themselves in 72 hours. And what the worst thing is and I didn't sleep the whole time. I'm telling you, Tafo, I like wasn't used to energy drinks. The worst thing is I got fed up with the game. I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna go back to my room, very tired, right? I didn't sleep after that. I was like literally in my room so hopped up on energy drinks. I literally think I had like at least like 12 plus a day. It was like very bad,
Jeez.
right? That I just sat laid in bed and couldn't sleep. And that was like the perfect encapsulation of what Brawl did to my life.
You couldn't sleep?
That's how it made me feel. Like on a physical, emotional, mental, financial, educational level, it felt terrible. In every way. It was I literally was like I would say like some of the worst my body has felt in my life. Like it was just I felt terrible. The energy. So like, there's not only the dislike of the game, but also the memory of like feeling like shit because I completely like treated by like just down too many energy drinks and stuff. So like, there's also that like in the back of my head, and that's like there's like an association I can't let go.
I think for me, like what happened was I was in some person's dorm, right, and we were playing free for alls. It gets down to me and someone else, right? I'm up 3 stocks to 1, and it's on a scrolling Mario level, so it goes like, through like Mario 1-2, the cave level, and like other stuff. Um, and this whole time he's playing pit and just camping me, right? And then he eventually wins. Like I'm approaching, and I'm like, and then and there I realize like me approaching was just a bad idea. You never approach and brawl. I lose,
Mhm.
and he shakes his hand with me and says that was a really good game. And I'm like fuck, like I literally approached. He didn't approach once. He just arrowed me, ran to the opposite side of stage, arrowed me, and then came back and won. And he was like, that was a really good game. And I was just like, I'm done with this game. Like this game sucks. And then,
Tafo, you know me. There's a segment of the community, and this is always something I disagreed with, which always wants to say like something like, "Hey, man, don't trash on each other's games. Like one unit, blah blah blah." Look, man, I get it. Don't be overly mean, but you don't stop from people from expressing their opinions. I think Melee is the only good Smash game, and I say that while hosting game tournaments for the other games, while providing good experiences, and while still caring about those other games. But on a personal gamer to gamer opinion level, I don't think there's like Ultimate is like on the borderline where I had a lot of fun while playing it, where like you can argue, but for the most part, I really think it's there's one good Smash game, and I'll say that openly and honestly. Like I just think it's the truth. It's just the fucking truth. And I think there's some revisionist history of people who had like some fond memories of like the social experiences and Brawl who like to pretend like that's a good game. Man, they have can have their own opinion or whatever. Game's trash. Game
you,
is very bad. It's one of the worst games ever. It's literally just a horrible, horrible game.
I think the casual experiences with it's pretty good in terms of what it added. I think like so
Subspace was boring. Like I see what people are trying to say with Subspace, and that it was cool that they attempted something ambitious, but it was so boring. It was like a bad Kirby game. Like, have you guys played it recently? It's like just a really bad Kirby game. It's
Yeah,
not fun.
but it had like
Adventure mode is better.
stage maker, like
Yeah, well, guess what? In adventure mode, you can actually move around in a game with a competent engine. You know, like
yeah.
adventure mode way better. Like and like the one player modes, like it's just all better. This like arcade, like classic mode, like they're just it's just like I don't understand the one player comparison because I'm like Subspace is not fun. It's the worst Kirby game I've ever played.
Okay, let me ask you this: Brawl or Smash Four? I think Brawl's
Um,
better than Smash Four.
it's weird that you might be right. No, I can't do it. Brawl's really bad, man. Brawl's really bad, man.
Like,
I'll say this, that Meta Knight had more depth to him than literally all of Smash 4. So I see the argument. Like there's genuinely more depth in Meta Knight the character than the entirety of Smash 4, to my understanding. To what I've to the part that I understand and played it. And you know what? I do Smash for a living. So even though I'm not a pro at the other games, like I know it well enough to know that there's not a lot there. Um and yeah, I think one thing that Smash 4 you can say about is just very shallow. And same with Ultimate. Both of them are pretty shallow ultimately. Um
I think the issue I have, like looking back, like given that like Ultimate exists, like what reason do you have to play four? Like I can see people playing Brawl. I don't
Ultimate's way better.
like
Ultimate's way better.
Brawl. Like Ultimate's just a better four. Like I don't see a reason. Like I feel like everyone that was trying to convince themselves that four was a good game, and like when four was in its heyday, like saying like, yeah, we need to support four. It's actually a really good game. Like look at all the players that moved on from four to Ultimate, and then they went go to like Smash Con every year, and they're like playing four, and they're like, what?
There is many good reasons to like 4 over Ultimate though. And very simple ones. The buffer.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The buffer in Ultimate is damning enough. And of course the online is damning enough, especially when combined, that it's like you could use that as an argument for it to be the worst one actually. And maybe just because we're in this era and we like it as far as like it's fun in terms of the number of characters, the actual game to game balance and design is better than its other like comparables. Not good by like compared to like melee terms, it's not even close. But compared to like Smash 4, like I'd say just strictly superior. But the buffer and how it controls is so fucking bad that it's still you could still argue it's worse.
Yeah, I can see that. I think one thing, I think Smash Four on release was like the worst game. This was before
The
the
weird,
shield fixes
the weird
happened.
weird thing about Smash 4, and I feel like people, you know how there's the cycle that everyone talks about where it's like new Smash game comes out. That Smash game is competitively more popular than Melee for a bit, and then slowly, Melee starts, taking over. That's like the cycle we've experienced many times. The weird thing is, it people have that history a little wrong because Smash 4 wasn't bigger than Melee like almost ever. Like literally on release, Apex 2015 was its first major event, right? You tell me, what was bigger at Apex 2015? Melee or Smash 4? By entrant count, you could say something, but like in reality, like no one remembers a Smash 4 event there. It's like even the Smash 4 players. It was
Oh,
completely sidelined.
you know what I remember about that event? Watching Pac-Man and watching Abadongo and Dabuz time each other out every game when like the day was already like running pretty late because we lost a day for Apex. That's what I remember about Apex 2015.
Anaru says I chalked it up to PPMD and left and right. Well, good melee happens all the time. Like uh for Ultimate's first major, which was Genesis, right? Um like melee definitely like its finals were amazing, and it that wasn't the one that Plup won. I want to say I probably getting this wrong. But like viewership for Ultimate was still slightly higher for finals day, not by much, but for Apex 2015 melee was still higher, right? And I think that goes to show how unpopular the Wii U was. Like it's for the cycle, like I think Smash 4 was bigger for at least a very short while, but then like Evo hit and like all this other stuff hit, and Smash 4 wasn't bigger than Melee for most of its life. Like most of its life, it was just Melee was bigger.
Yeah.
So for sure. I mean, like, I don't know. People can disagree, but I really think that the weird revisionist history on Brawl, like, I can't fuck with it. Like, it doesn't. It's not true. It's just not true. It's just not true.
It's
It's a
a
bad
hot
game.
take from Blur.
It's a bad game. Like, I told y'all that I don't lie to you. It's I just don't think it's good. And people who tell you otherwise are probably really biased or have bad opinions or bad taste, I should say, in my opinion. I can't imagine what leaps I would have to go through in my mind to think it's a good game.
Yeah, I don't know. I think although what I'm not gonna deny is like people having fond memories, like whether it's
Oh yeah,
like Brawl events or like the friends they met.
yeah, for sure. Or if like people saying I had a blast as a kid, like I totally think that's completely valid. But if you're trying to like actually think about it, like and actually talk about it, like and actually like figure it, like there's some games which like if I take a huge step back and you ask me like what's my favorite anime, I tell you Dragon Ball Z. I have a Dragon Ball Z mouse pad right here. Right? But it's right there you go.
Ooh.
And it's dope, right? I love Dragon Ball Z. And I tell you that straight to your face. But do I on like do I think it's got like the best storylining and whatever, like the most complex in depth? Well, I actually think it's pretty fucking good. I do think Dragon Ball Z is just actually really good, but I also think that like I can't deny that a huge portion of the reason I like it so much is because I watched it and grew up with it, and it was formative, you know. So I get where that bias can come from because it's the difference, but it's the difference between having favorites and understanding like reality at the same time, right? DBZ is a little nostalgia, but still sick. That's exactly how I'd put it. It's like this. I'm definitely talking about it through nostalgia, and I know that, but it's actually still good too.
All right. What are you if you had to rewatch DBZ, which like are you watching Kai? Are you which like are you watching the Ocean dub? Like which one are you watching?
Have you watched DBZ?
Yeah.
Okay, just make sure. I think there's only so I haven't watched Kai, because like I feel like why would I like watched a ton of the original? Like why do the same story again? It didn't. The whole concept of it didn't make sense to me. I also didn't um like when Kai first came out. It was like you get Japanese voices first, and I hate the Japanese voices for DBZ. So I think it's the Funimation dub, right? That has like the Faulkner music and has like the Vegeta and Piccolo that we all know and love, like the correct ones. Um, and yeah, there's pretty much only one right way to do it. So Kai is actually great, no filler. But dude, I like the episodes that were like Piccolo's getting his driver's license. I hate to say it, I thought that was fucking cool.
I thought that was a good episode.
That's a good episode. Um, so I don't know. I think DBZ has like some actually amazing moments. Like dead ass. Like again, if you haven't watched DBZ, don't listen. But um, I think like the my favorite DBZ moment, if I had to pick one out, is always the Majin Vegeta moment. Where
Where he
he,
explodes himself.
yeah, I think it's. I thought that should have been the finale to the Buu saga because I thought that was like the perfect end. Um, but they kept going. Whatever.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
was
I
still
thought Cell Saga Gohan like coming of age should have been like the end of DBZ.
no. Buu saga had the best moment. It had Majin Vegeta. Majin Vegeta was amazing. It was
Yeah.
like that was amazing. Like,
Um,
I thought it was way whacker to see. Like, it didn't Buu saga end with like the fucking fusion of Vegeta and Goku and shit, and like it was like super. It almost felt fan servicey at the end of it, right? Like I
I
was like,
mean,
all of these, all of the classic endings, like Goku turns Super Saiyan and beats Frieza, like all of them were like momentous moments, or like Gohan like believes in himself, and like it was a character defining and development moment, and it felt like Majin Vegeta and what he did there was like they should have given him the dub, man.
I,
They needed to give Vegeta the dub there. I felt like it was only right to give Vegeta the dub.
I mean, I think like um, there's a channel called Totally Not Mark, which handles the criticism of I think what we would probably identify like the issues with the Boo saga. Like, I don't, I don't think it culminates into anything. Like, I don't have a reason. Like, is there a reason to like hate Majin Buu? I guess like
I think the thing is that I see what they're saying, especially since it's like it gets muddied up with like Gotenks and a ton of that other shit, and you're just kind of like scratching your head of like this is like
okay,
this that you're losing like the main threads that make these characters work, right? But I will always stand by what they did with Bibbidi, what they did with the whole Majin era, and like all that. At least that part of it. That part of it's fucking dope.
yeah, Gohan played baseball. I think that was hilarious.
Gohan did play baseball.
I mean, I think it just like lost direction. Like, I felt like there were too many like subplots going on that like it
I
didn't
think
have focus.
they need to focus on the strong part. I think if they made it so that it was like if Cell was supposed to be the arc about Trunks and Gohan, right? Like if that's like ultimately what they're trying to do, like a lot of growth for those characters. Like it should have been the Boo should have been a lot about Vegeta, right? Like his redemption. The whole idea of it is redemption, right? It's like this guy sold his soul to Bibbidi because he was sick and tired of being weak because he was becoming soft. He was becoming soft, getting accustomed to Earth life. He now had a wife. He had a son that he cared about, and he felt like he was losing his ability to maintain the power race against someone he felt was inferior. A lot of pride issues, a lot of genuine good things to teach young kids, right? Like not to be too prideful, not to. And then in the end, after selling his soul, he decided that he had something better to fight for, and that was his family. Fucking beautiful, genius, makes me cry every time. I almost cried describing it. You know, like just gorgeous. And I'm like, you could do a whole saga about that. You don't have to end it with some fucking earrings and shit. Why has it got to go that way?
Yeah. I felt like the way that Gohan ended there, like Gohan's like arc didn't matter, like him like ascending with the sword, like it didn't
Yeah.
matter, and like I felt like there's a lot of things that just didn't add to like the suspense or the payoff. I guess that's a good way to put it, right? There's all this suspense building up, and there was no payoff for it. And in the last like 40 episodes, where like they go into like Boo's stomach or whatever, like I don't know,
Yeah.
it,
A lot of it was like, what's the point?
yeah.
For sure. During the latter half of it, I could see it. I still don't want to call it like bad because I don't think any of DBZ's bad, but certainly the last end of it definitely got off the rails
I
a
mean,
little
like
bit.
compare that to like the Saiyan saga. Like I thought the Saiyan saga was like pretty sick. Like it built up pretty well.
Oh,
It,
it's
it the,
so good, so good.
like I don't know if like I can compare them like in the same like kind of level. Like
Dude, just like if especially if you watch the original Dragon Ball, Raditz showing up and you're like, Goku has a brother. Wait, what's going on? What are Saiyans? Right? Because in context, like if you watch the whole Dragon Ball show, we didn't know what Saiyans were.
you just
Like,
had a kid with a tail, right?
like he's all that shit was like new, and so it was and his brother's evil. Like it's like fucking crazy. Shit's going down. And then like the whole Piccolo thing and like special beam cannon, like all that going down, like dope. And they usually did like a good thing. So one thing that annoys me about people who analyze DBZ, and yes, there are people who analyze DBZ, and I'm one of them.
Totally Not
Get,
Mark's channel is really good, by the way. Right?
get on board. Get on board. It's a dope show. Is I hate when people act like Goku like did everything. One of the things I have a hard time with the newer shows, and this is the thing, is that Goku really does do everything at a certain point. Like, is then he just like there's nothing else. But one of the things I loved about like DBZ especially is it was always a team effort, right? Dude, Goku was in a capsule forever on his way to Namek, and your boy Krillin fended off the forces of evil for so
I
fucking long.
jokingly say that like Frieza Saga Goku's PPMD.
Everyone's waiting for him to come, baby. Like
Like,
he's gonna come back, right?
yes, he's
Dude,
gonna
what a
defeat the evil Friezas of the world.
what a legend! And then Piccolo, like Piccolo, he gets all shiny, and it's like, oh, Piccolo's fucking strong right now. He's actually giving work to Frieza. Like everyone had their role. Everyone had even Vegeta had a role. Like Gohan, Gohan was super brave for a kid. Like if you actually start watching with a critical eye and realize like how much everyone contributed to every single win in every single DBZ arc, you're like, wait a second. People are just looking at like the final Kamehamehas or like the final climax of it, which often, rightly or wrongly, they gave to Goku or like a primary protagonist in Cell Saga was Gohan. But like everyone, like it couldn't have happened otherwise. Like Yajirobe even got in there, right, in the Saiyan saga. So it's like they did a good job of making a team effort. I felt like, and I think that's like core to what Dragon Ball was. It was like there's they're the fighters.
You know what? You know, I wished for Piccolo though. Like, I felt like he had like his like moments, and then like he would be like outclassed like right after, right? And I always found it
Mhm.
to be a little weird that like he
I always hated that Saiyans were literally just superior. It
yeah.
was like literally, it was like they were like you can you can only get so strong, and I don't know if they were trying to say a message with that or something. Um, but it was like just genetically Saiyans, like they hurt them every time they get hurt, they get stronger. That's like literally what the canon is. So they get hurt and they get stronger. That's all they have to do. They have to get hurt. Vegeta freaking shot himself in the chest and had the Namek Day or whatever heal him, and he was stronger. That's all it took. They just do that over and over, and that's how they get stronger. It's cheap. It's broken.
I mean, that's what Melee Fox is, right?
Dende, right? Yeah. Melee Fox. No, Melee Fox doesn't get stronger if you hurt him. Tell
Actually,
you
it's
what.
reverse Melee Fox. You just
Yeah,
die.
perfect. Yeah, he just dies. So it felt like I don't know. I don't know what point they were trying to make with that or something. Like maybe it's like, hey man, sometimes there's just gonna be someone better than you, but it seems like a weird and non-inspirational message to say to kids. Um, but yeah, Saiyans were just absurdly broken, and the fact that like any of those other people like even kept up for a while is insane.
Did you
You
see
know,
that
like
one like non-canon movie, like the like one like offshoot movie where like it's like future Trunks versus Tien? I'm like, there's no way Tien can keep up with the, and then he can turn Super Saiyan. That's just like broken.
yeah, it's like insanity. And I feel like a lot of kid shows and actually a lot of American culture too, maybe it's a theme in Japanese culture too, um, just have a ton of chosen ones. What is with our obsession with chosen ones? I find chosen ones to be so fucking bland. Where it's like this person is destined to do this,
I mean,
right?
isn't
It's
that
like
why
okay,
people resonate with like in the Smash community with like ping pong?
I guess I don't know if was ping pong a story about chosen ones.
Not
Do you feel like
necessarily, but they identify themselves indirect. Like it's not so like, but it's
I'd
like
say?
the arc of like if I work hard enough, I can be this one dude.
Oh, you're saying it's the opposite of chosen ones.
Or like they identify as if they're gonna succeed, like chosen one in the
Mm,
sense that they believe that their narrative will go similar to that one guy that works really hard.
sure, sure, sure. I see what you're saying,
Yeah, yeah.
but what I'm talking about specifically is someone who is like predestined, either genetically or
Oh yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
like Harry Potter levels. Like it's just like this person is special, right? For whatever reason. And I just feel like number one, life never works that way. Not to say that
It does
your
for
art has
Mango.
it does okay. It doesn't mean your life has your art has to reflect life, but it's just such a boring and plain storyline. It's like I already know that this guy is destined to do this, and so far, all you're doing in your book is showing me that the prophecy is true,
I mean, isn't
right?
that
Like
like every like big movie, like Harry Potter, Star Wars, like
yes, it's all chosen one stuff. And I just think it's just so lazy and it doesn't feel as fulfilling to me, right? If it's like this person has natural abilities which are insane, right? Like just literally like insanity, and for some reason that's what gives them the edge. I'm like that's not as cool to me as someone who, doesn't have the natural abilities and succeeds anyways. Right? That's cooler to me. Like it's fucking badass.
I mean, that's how I feel about like Mango said. Sometimes you literally feel like he's plot armoring. Like,
I also there might be a part of it where I'm projecting here. You know, I'm like, what about what about for all the talentless fucks out there, dude? Can we make some shows about them?
I acknowledge I'm not the Mango or the anime protagonist chosen one. I've accepted it.
I will never accept it. Um,
I think really, I actually have work tomorrow, so like I actually have to go and we have
you should
scrim
probably go.
practice.
All right, homie.
Did you want to continue to stream? I can raid you.
No, I don't.
All right.
It's
Well,